And okay, there we go. Now it works. Now we're on YouTube as well. Yay, huzzah. Very huzzah. All right, so we have StarCraft 2 to cast, as I was not able to start the cast when I usually do. So instead, got the replays from good old Steadfast. Thank you, Steadfast. And we'll still be casting them, especially because the finals look like they were quite good. But I shan't spoil, and I tried not to spoil myself as much as possible either. But yeah, just to give you guys the rundown of what's happened in the tournament so far up till when we're going to start casting. Clem 2-0'd Bjorn as Protoss. Those were rather one-sided from what I saw. And then Hero defeated Max Pax 2-0, all in the upper bracket. And then Clem versus Hero is what we're going to be casting first. So, yeah, they're meeting in the upper bracket. And Clem is going to be playing Terran versus Protoss. He's not just pure Protoss, at least not yet. We'll see if that holds. But that does mean whoever loses this goes to face Max Pax in the lower bracket. So, there you go. Hopefully you caught all that. So, plenty of TVP. What a shocker. I'm not even sure any Zerg signed up today. If they did, they didn't get very far. Fiat, Matt, and that's it. That was it. Yep, that was it. Okay. Very good then. No cat here today. Just good old me. And hopefully the observer, the camera works out where it is a bit better. As usual, let me know about the sounds. And then we also have actually remembered to get the new overlay. I'm very proud of this. I remembered to scroll up in an old chat with Indy, or I'd asked him for it months ago, actually install it, and actually choose it. So I'm very proud. That means that we still get the numbers, thank God, but we get bigger overlay, so it's a little less of a, what does the production say, which I don't think it's a super big deal if you're watching online, of course, but I know people would prefer this one. They've asked before. Anywho, all the janitor work, I guess, out of the way. In the top right, we do have Hero. And in the bottom left, we do have Clem. So, you know, Clem usually a staple in these open cups, right? If you haven't been watching for a couple of weeks, you might be like, oh my God, again? Well, I mean, it's a lot of TVP. That is not different. But Clem actually had not been playing in the past couple of Open Cups. Perhaps a mixture of just getting a little tired of playing in all the Open Cups in the whole wide world. Prepping from Maestros of the Game, which played out a couple of weeks ago. And then actually recovering from Maestros of the Game, where, you know, he practiced very hard, I'm sure. And I don't know if he went out drinking with the French guys, but if he did, he would have needed time to recover from that as well, for sure. Yeah, so it's been a little while, so I'm glad to see Clem them Lem. Apparently, indeed, his favorite thing in the world is a polar bear. We know that now thanks to Meisters of the Game. And he is going to be playing Protoss versus Terran. He's not going to play TVT, but he is still playing Terran versus Protoss, and obviously Terran versus Zerg. I don't think that would ever really be in question. I think there's actually a chance that if maybe there was no patch, I'm not saying the patch has fixed everything, just that it's maybe something that stirs up a little more interest at least. But without that, if this is just where we were 4 weeks ago, which is like, oh, they're never going to pay attention to us, there's not going to be a patch, I don't know what's going to happen. It would not surprise me if Clem went more and more into playing Protoss versus Protoss as well. But I think he would always play TVZ. Always. But no, maybe with the new patch, maybe he didn't really want to play PvP. I mean, PvP is not fun if you start playing it all the time, which you would if you ladder on Europe. Anyway, he plays TVP, and he's about as good as ever. I'm definitely not going to say he is as good as he used to be in TVP, which at one point he was flawless, perfect, amazing. I'm not saying that lasted a long time, but it was definitely impressive. But he's back to being pretty good at this matchup. Already getting a probe with his opening Reaper. Feels good. The Reaper also sees that a shield battery was bothered to be made in the main base, which is a good scout. I mean, it doesn't, I think, really deter you from doing for a Wood of My Jaw, for instance, which a shield battery doesn't help anyway. But it is kind of a nice way of telling, I mean, where the resources have gone. I think more importantly, that Stargate was supposed to be scouted, though, so before I go too much on the shield battery, did not scout the Stargate. That's a problem. That Reaper was just a pixel too off. And since Stargate openers aren't very common anymore, this could be a huge surprise. But anyway, the shield batteries definitely show that reclusive defensive nature. Maybe you're anticipating more of like a 2 or a defensive 3 gate with an opener like this. I've been talking about Classic doing this a lot, and I still feel like Classic was the one that I noticed the most, just default doing this. And I think I still like that, even with a Twilight Council opener. But particularly when you're facing a factory expand, not that Hero knew that. Hero is one of the guys who does mix in, not scouting at all. But anyway, you're facing an aggressive Terran. It is the meta that is, with factory expand, is quite popular. And you are going for a Stargate opener, which isn't meant to keep the Oracle at home. As you can see here, you know, shield batteries at home does make some sense. The Oracle flew across the map, has found 4 SCVs. No Marines died in the process. Most importantly, the Oracle gets out. Would have mind? Jesus criminy. Gets 2 probes, and this one shouldn't get any as the Phoenix pops out in the nick of time to lift and get that unit over there. Those units, there's only 2 of them, though. Stalker has to be warped into the natural to stop the Hellion from getting any more damage done. But with the shield battery, that seems incredibly unlikely. I don't know how many shots that one Hellion have to take through a shield battery to actually get a kill on a probe. 6? Is it double? Is it triple? I don't know. But yeah, that Hellion, usually a good idea. When you do have double shield battery, it just... those little tiny annoyances that Clem certainly would usually get with his control, they don't happen anymore. Because honestly, with the units, limited units that Protoss has, and all of them having to go kill this Widowmine up in the main base, that Hellion without the shield battery could have gotten 2 probes. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but sometimes it is. Overall, obviously, the Protoss is winning right now, although losing a very real Phoenix. Even knowing him for a Stargate, that took me a second. Like, oh, hallucinated Phoenix has in the middle of the map. No, that was a very real one. That is not a great thing to do. Hero, up until that point, was playing very smoothly. Now it's a little bit more even after losing that expensive unit overall. One that wasn't going to add very much to the game, I suppose. It wasn't going to go up to 5 Phoenix. 1 Phoenix can't really do anything as far as harassment. It could lift a tank on its last dying breath. More likely, it could have tried to scout with this Oracle for any drops, but it's still nasty to lose. Back at base of Clem, it's very, very normal. He did actually grab 2 Vikings, so that is abnormal. Unaware of what exactly this follow-up was going to be. He did see a Twilight Council, but then there's a possibility of going Phoenix Charge, however old that sounds, however much we don't see that, you know, but that there is that possibility. And perhaps was, A, wanting to deal with multiple Phoenix defensively, but then more so B, since we did see him move out, try and catch Hero, while Hero is still on a relatively low unit count and out of position. But the Phoenix, that was very real, very much died, did scout the incoming attack, and that seems to have been the trigger for Clem to actually pull back and play defensive, which 2 Vikings look a little silly. Oh god, especially because they weren't helping those 2 tanks. Hero just collapsing in an opportune moment. Gets a Viking while he goes as well. Gets the Cyclone too. Good lord. Clem had no idea Hero Stalkers were looking for blood. And for Hero, he actually didn't know for sure what was behind those 2 tanks. All he saw was that there were 2 tanks. Could have been a third on the high ground. Could have been the Marines just seconds away from helping them. But he made the decision. And it worked out almost flawlessly. Does lose a couple of Stalkers for what he gathered. I think that is very much worth it. Plus now being a little bit of a bully while Stim and Combat Shields aren't done. Even looking to get that Widowmine to pop. Medevac was picked up. Not quite sure Hero saw it. He's going to see this with the Oracle, of course. Oracle can only help out so much. But the warp in should happen. If he is paying attention, he was microing his Stalkers back. So maybe a little late on actually noticing this. But a shield battery in the main plus a couple of Stalkers. And you got yourself a solid defense against a simple 8 Marine drop. Clem tries to do some amount of damage, even focus firing down the Warping and Zealot, but that was it. That was all he got. And Clem is in a ton of trouble, honestly. The Oracle, having done its duty, I suppose, figures it can go across the map. That's not quite true. Clem did bother to make double missile turret, but even that kind of sucks, because yes, it stopped a lot of SCVs from dying right there, which he was, was willing to buy that for, exactly that reason. It still sucks that he had to do that. 200 minerals in missile turrets against someone who has literally 1 Oracle, not even that Phoenix. You could say that it kind of helps against a Warp Prism, but it is kinda. And I thought those Vikings would help against the Warp Prism, but then one of them died, and well, this one is going to go on the front lines. At least they're a little bit cheaper. War Prism is setting up for the main base attack as Clem tries to hit. This is the 4th of Hero, but Hero has plenty of army. Easily pushes that back, grabs a medevac as well, or 2. Oh no, the first one was the drop, but injures another medevac severely, and this is finding no headway. I mean, Clem is in... He's in a desperate place. His 3rd CC is only just now finishing as an orbital, still not on location. His Hero successfully defends the 4th base that is now done. It's only 61 probes, so the economy is a little bit of a fake, you know? Like, you can't just look at that face value, 4 bases to 2 and maybe a 3rd very soon. But at the end of the day, as the War Prism does kill 8-10 SCVs for going down, yeah. Another drop, mostly denied, I guess. 5 probes did go down. And again, 61 probes down to 56. Like, that is not a 4-base saturated Protoss. Certainly not with... Wow, he just taps out right then and there. Okay. Certainly with, not someone who has all the gases taken, that's for sure. But, yeah, it still is a bit hopeless. 40 supply difference at the end, and none of the harassment was working. Another attack would take basically ages to get across the map as the Colossus were forming and more ground armor was being built, and Clem just knew that this game, I mean, arguably was lost when the 2 tanks went down for absolutely nothing. It's crazy. And he does tap out, you know, kind of like, oh, right then and there, right, yeah, fine. But that game probably felt bad from the get-go. Isn't it wild that Roddy was the only one to beat the favorite animals? Yeah, Rainer, apparently his favorite thing in the world is Rotterdam, the person. It's impressive. I mean, mine would have been cats. Mine would have been so obvious. It would have been like Korean food, cats as an animal, pig maybe as a streamer. I don't remember what the other questions were, but then cats would have beat everything. Game 2 hopefully looks a little better for this guy. In the bottom left, it is Clem down 1. In the top right, it is Hero. Yeah, I said maybe this goes better from the get-go. But I don't know if necessarily the opening was truly terrible for Clem. The Oracle did do damage, which is always a bit of a bummer, considering that if you did scout the Oracle as he was so close to doing, when his Reaper was there, the Stargate was there, it was so close, then you really should not have lost the Oracle at all. Or lost units to the Oracle. Then you decide to try and do a little push, double Viking, Cyclone, Tow, maybe catch someone who is either mid-transition trying to get to those Blink Stalkers, or someone who is building Phoenix. And it's scouted, and you're like, well, now I'm not in position anymore. It's not going to be as effective. At the end of the day, I do think it was right to pull back. I think Hero had already built a decent number of Stalkers to stop the little push out. But I feel like what really, really, really did the not quite nail in the coffin, but like the gut punch when your heart drops to your stomach, that kind of feeling, was when the 2 tanks were killed for almost free. 2 tanks, a Cyclone, and a Viking died for 3 Stalkers. And the math doesn't add up for the Terran, sure, but just the real impact of all of those units cannot be understated. Even the second Viking, which wasn't going to help much versus air, but landed, does help. You know, for some of those earlier TVP battles, Vikings are actually quite scary. Just really sucks to lose it. And it not something that happens all that often. I mean, you know, I might sit there and be like, well, of course Hero takes out those 2 tanks that were totally undefended. Like, what was Clem thinking? Very few Protosses are going to attack like that. The Hero, first of all, being as aggressive with the Stalkers second, blink after Stargate. You know, no Warp Prism, not starting from the get-go with the gateways. Very few, I think, are going to be that in your face. And then very few Protoss are going to get that scout on the 2 tanks and then assume that they can kill the 2 tanks, you know? They might see it. They might, like, poke their head in with the Stalkers coming in a little bit later and be like, oh, it might be a little vulnerable, but then they have to think it through. They're like, oh, well, yeah, maybe there's a 3rd thing, and maybe there's... I don't know. But Hero doesn't think things through. Sometimes he does. But, when he doesn't, a lot of times he's right. Like, his instinct is actually quite good. Every once in a while, his instinct does make him look like a questionable player. You're like, well, I don't know about that one. But then that is such a highlight example of why Hero's instinct can be fantastic. Because he just is like, 2 tanks to defend it! And Clem did not get to respond. And that just took all the power out of his initial attack, and all the drops were failing as well. It just was such an ugly game, one you're just ready to tap out on, I feel like, before that War Prism did damage. No bunker at the front seems like a bit of a bold choice, but, I mean, this should be safe. Hero does go with a Stalker opener, which can outrange all these units, and there is no high ground ramp, so that further makes it a bit of a greedy choice from the Terran. But assuming the Protoss has not chrono boosted like a forward gateway, or God forbid there's a second gateway somewhere, I mean, the Widow Mine's going to clear this out, and presumably a Cyclone or a tank will also come out. But really, it's the Widow Mine. Still, it's a bit of a draw right now. The Stalkers keep the Widow Mine there. The Widow Mines keep the Stalkers from bullying the Marines. So Clem can't really pick up the Widow Mines and go for a Widow Mine drop without losing that extra layer of safety. But then, again, Hero might not have the appropriate number of Stalkers to defend the Widow Mine drop. But what the fuck? Oh my god, he just brought probes. Ha! I didn't even register what was happening. I saw probes and I was like, that must be my imagination. But he literally was like, I hate this Widow Mine stopping me from bullying your Marines. I'm going to bring 2 probes for 2 Widow Mines. That's insane. Hero really, really, really did not want those Widow Mines to protect those Marines. More power to him. Clem was being greedy, not building a bunker. Tank now is out, thankfully, and that will bully away the Stalkers, but you don't see that too often. Usually it's, it's I would say not really worth it, pull the probes, or, you think about it in your head, but you're like, it's going to take too long for the probes to come across the map. But that was, yeah, it is a choice. That is a choice. And in total, what happened, though? Yeah, in total, I mean, he ends up losing 3 Stalkers with the tank popping out. Maybe a little over-dedication, honestly, from Hero. And it was like a neato jet idea. It was so neat. But was it really the wisest? Is it really the thing that we're going to see every Protoss doing versus... I don't know. Obviously, he could have also saved maybe a couple of Stalkers by not engaging so fiercely. But by the by... Funny opener here. By the way, Hero did go for Twilight Council opener charge, however. So this is a very important distinction, one that Clem also wants to identify as soon as possible. Stalkers get recalled. They do not immediately blink. Now that's a little suspect, but it could have been because the Widow Mine was already burrowed. They want to try, but they still aren't blinking against this Liberator. And they still aren't blinking. I mean, I feel like this point... Terran knows there's got to be a charge opener, although the number of Zealots hasn't really appeared. I don't think they saw that the Zealots were a bit speedier as they walk either. I think everything else has given Clem the information that he does technically need. Has he picked up on it? I'm not quite sure. He did build a bunker. I think that's wise, even if this was a blink opener, just in case Hero decides to be more aggressive than you expect later on in the game with Stalkers. But now I think he'd really like it for the protection of any type of charge, sudden attack, which Hero has been experimenting with throughout the last few months. Just charge lots, and then this is a good time, just throw them across the map. And because sometimes that Terran is so dependent on tanks and maybe a bunker, maybe not, the Zealots can be weirdly effective, because tanks aren't very good against them. But not the case quite here. We see the Zealots, maybe they were supposed to set up for a run-by later on, I'm not sure, but not doing a whole lot. Liberator, microed, ran away, repaired. So far, not too much to speak of as to who's getting a little more ahead than the other. 8 worker difference is pretty much the okay spot for Protoss. 3rd CC finishing up for Clem as he starts grabbing those Widow Mines. He did only go for, 3 tanks actually, which might feel a little bit bad against someone open up a charge, but kind of depends on when he goes for the engagement. As we see, Blink is on the way, Colossus are on the way. We're eventually going to get to the same final Protoss army. Although not Storm, but still an army we're very familiar with. And then tanks can help against that, particularly against those Colossus before you have the Viking count. 2nd starport is on the way already. We're going to go ahead and just move that factory off the reactor too, so we're worried about that transition than about any potential mass charge lot, which I gotta say, there isn't a lot of information about it not being mass charge lot. The only thing I can really see is that Clem has been tracking the 4th Nexus timing. And then if you were going to go like mass ground army, like the old Zest, I suppose, then you would have already had a 4th base. Because then, because he didn't see the gases in the natural or the 3rd. He doesn't see, the army a lot. So it could have been in the middle of the map waiting to go. But again, I think he's picking up on enough things to really try and make the best possible outcome, which might seem like a lot of just defending. It's like, well, is it really that impressive? He's just defending. When a lot of the TVP still has those push-outs with the first 2 medevacs, with those tanks, you're trying to get something done, 3rd, 4th base of the Protoss. I mean, when the player is just playing defensively, there's 2 things. Either they're reading into the situation, which I think Clem is doing, or they are a little scared of Protoss, which is kind of understandable, but might not, be the best thing. And I guess the 3rd option is that they really want to get to late game. That's something that Bjorn has been doing a lot, actually, versus Protoss, which is just I'm going to get to the super late game. But I think Clem had to navigate, making sure he didn't get, charge lot all in, basically. Then needing something against the Colossus transition, which he figured was on the way. The Viking count is already building. And then, securing his 3rd before he's really ready to go. And now he is, with quite a fearsome army. 3 Colossus? Nope, that's only 2. Scan reveals the hallucination. Shield battery is ready to go, but the army supplies heavily in favor of Clem right now, with all the tanks sieging up too. The charge lot's instantly getting evaporated. Liberator even comes in to help, and this is looking like a very good engagement for the Terran. Colossus are still alive, however, only 1 tank is left over, but the Colossus starting to fall. The shield battery out of juice. The replacement shield battery is coming in the nick of time. That was a trade for sure. Hero losing a lot of those frontline units, not having another Colossus here fast enough. It was a Disruptor, that's why. But can the Disruptor actually get the shot? Usually not. Not against Clem. Vikings still not able to take down that last Colossus. The shield batteries are just barely keeping it alive, but they are now officially out of energy. The Disruptor did not get a great shot. The Vikings can now land. Plenty of medevac energy, plenty of bio left over, and this is just an easy game to call. Clem knows he's going to win here. Protoss knows the Terran's going to win here, and that is going to be a decisive victory for Clem. Not quite the ebb and flow that Hero was looking for. I think, preferably when you do open up with a charge... Oh, Dark Shrine is already done. Okay, that's annoying, but probably not going to change the game. When you open up with that charge, you are kind of hoping the Terran player has some type of early game move out in mind, so you can shut it down. Just shut it down. And then while they lick their wounds is when you make all the transitions and all the economy. But Clem, he was the opposite of aggressive, actually. The 1-Rax expands, a bit greedy with the bunker. Did that work or not? I mean, whatever. But then just playing it calm, waiting until he had this great army and really choosing a great time to push. So Clem, well, it makes game 2 look almost as easy as Heroes game 1. And after 2 one-sided games, we'll see if the 3rd is any closer in a very large map where things shouldn't be decided very quickly. In the bottom right, we do have Team Liquid's Clem. And in the top left, it is SK. Oh my god, I haven't said that yet. It's SK's Hero. Isn't that sick? So... SK came into StarCraft again, which is quite a surprise. Out of all of the teams that I could have guessed would maybe pick up a StarCraft 2 player, just for the maybes of EWC, which is mostly what I believe this pickup is for. Not that they have confirmed it. Not that I know for a fact this is why they picked him up, but still, it's the most likely reason is that it's a relatively cheap pickup for potentially a lot of reward if EWC StarCraft 2 happens next year. But I still wouldn't have guessed SK as far as the teams who could do that, Falcons for sure. I would be like, okay, just, maybe whatever. We'll see you next year. But SKT, I mean, they haven't been in StarCraft in years. They have shown, you know, before, we had 2 EWCs where these club championships were very important, and SKT didn't show any interest in StarCraft. So it's like, why now and why before EWC StarCraft 2 was actually confirmed? I don't know, but I'm glad. I'm very happy. I hope this means good things. And I hope they're treating Hero very well, which I'm sure they are. But SKT is one of, if not the most historied, is that the right word? Prestigious, maybe? Esports teams ever. I don't think that's a controversial statement, because it's not even just like I'm talking about the good old glory days of StarCraft Brood War. Obviously, they changed it over to League of Legends and got some luck there with a guy named Faker. I don't know if you heard about him. So, that's pretty cool. Hero was a Brood War player, by the way. Just go full on, glasses up, StarCraft history nerd time. He was I don't know if a very good Brood War player, but he was a good Brood War player. Never on SKT. He was on CJ Entus. And then maybe something before that, but I don't remember. Anywho. We got ourselves a factory expand. No, it was again One-Rax expand. This time he's going to build a bunker. Again, that wouldn't mind. It protects you to a certain degree, but Hero throwing out the probes, he could do it again, and he could probably micro a little bit better and maybe pull back a little bit sooner so that the Stalkers didn't lose their lives like they did last game. And in that case, I do think the probe pull would have been worth it. It's just that the tank came and it can kind of caught Hero off guard. But if you're going to go for One-Rax expand, bunker, pretty safe, especially if there's no high ground to abuse, which we do not have here either. And you're going to go in a Hellion, especially. That would not help if the Stalkers are being aggressive. The Hellion is great, though, for some additional scouting. The Reaper is forced to flee, but doesn't flee far enough. Oh, we just pay attention. Woo! Through the acceleration zones we go. Didn't quite get a glimpse on what technology it is, and since we did already have a Stargate game, it's kind of important. You know, it's most likely Twilight Council, but Hellion's going to keep an eye on the third timing, sees no spectacular timed third base. Some really greedy one. And is going to go into the natural, which it's not going to pick up a lot of scouting. It's not going to see literally the Twilight Council, but seeing the robo timing is already some pretty good info. You know, a lot of Stalkers have made an appearance as well. There's 0.34 actually making an appearance to Clem as 2 ended up chasing down the Reaper. It did chase down the Reaper. I know, more and more signs are pointing to the fact that it is Blink opener, very standard one. He did lose the Hellion before he saw the third Nexus timing. Something else, we'll have to scout that. But the Widowmine drop is the follow-up that scouts the next important thing. And this was just a 2 gateway expand. Back at home, Clem doing what Terrans do best. He did include a Raven, so that's a little change you could make. But otherwise, going in a couple of tanks and barracks. Widowmine drop. And right towards the main, there are no units preset. Where are the Stalkers? Oh, they're all in the natural. Well, 50-50. It is in the main, though, and we are paying attention. Fortunately, Blink wasn't quite done. So Widowmine does grab a Stalker, and then, whoo, boy. Hero plays with fire, man. Actually pulled the probes into it. That time it was successful. Doesn't lose any probes, and all in all, it's okay. Medevac leaves, so it's also okay for Clem, who's grabbing Stim, +1. Still gonna go in a couple more tanks, by the looks of things. Which the Observer might get a glimpse on as well as just take the lay of the land, see if there's any opportunities for the Stalkers to actually get in and deal a minor amount of damage. Lovely SCV Scout wants to see exactly this. Sees Stalkers moving in. No chance for the Raven to get shot at, but Hero is absolutely looking for it. And the bunker could have been torn down before Clem reacted. Since he did scout, there is a less chance of that. At this point, you know, the bunker is still kind of important. It's getting increasingly less important as the time goes on, because we are not getting a big attack as of yet for Hero. I do say as of yet, because we are adding on a lot of gateways. Charge has not begun, though, and so, I mean, you could warp in a lot of Stalkers, try and do something, but it's, you know, I feel like the time is passing. This is more about prepping for later. Although I am kind of, I mean, I feel like he is meaning to get charge. Am I? Is this a mistake? Is this a? I think it is. Molten, thank you very much for that raid. I really feel like charge is supposed to be on the way. Am I crazy? Okay, Dark Shrine is slapped down. Okay, now he doesn't have enough for a charge upgrade, but, you know, it's still pretty close. I don't know. A little supply block, too. 4 pylons slapping down. The Stalkers have not really gone in. War Prism is getting ready, though, and there are some non-charge lots. 100% he meant to get charge. It's one of those, like, well, the pro gamer is right, you know. Customer's always right. Pro gamer's always right. Well, in this case, I'm just going to say that he made a mistake. And it's going to look kind of awkward seeing a bunch of slow zealots without charge trying to harass this base. I mean, it's not totally ineffective. It's just a little more awkward. +1 is on. Sim is on. Combat shield's almost on. Clem does manage to avoid being scouted with the drop going behind the Stalkers. So he knew he killed the Observer earlier on. There is or maybe just pushed it away, but still the Observer isn't in position. He was able to see that thanks to the Raven, and this little catch is good. All but 1 Stalker going down. As the army moves out, the War Prism moves in, but again, they are slow zealots, immediately recognizing this and starts up the charge. Wouldn't mind his little friendly fire. He really wants to get that tank. Clem not going to lose it. And I will go ahead and say if he had charge, that tank would be dead. Yep, for sure. Well, fortunately, charge isn't that slow of an upgrade. Unfortunately, the War Prism just ran right into a couple Marines. Those barely live. But anyway, so the fact is like recognizing it before the Terrans anywhere near your base is the best possible situation. And then it's kind of all fair game, you right? Like he could have gotten the tank if he had charge, for sure. But he wasn't planning some big ol' attack that would have really looked silly with a bunch of charge lots not charging. In this case, it's kind of okay. SCV's going down. The DT has already made an appearance. I saw the warp in. 1 has already gone in the natural and died. Killed 4 SCVs. Not bad. Hero is on 4 bases. 67 probes, though. So again, like that actually is impressive as it sounds. Sometimes we see PVTs, and if I said 4 bases, the Protoss would be at 75 probes, 45 seconds ago. But not in this case. So it's not as bad, but it's still not great, because it just means that there is a base up. There is the ability to make that many probes. There's already the pylons and the recall, and, having it already up is good. Hero's army movement is a bit odd, but just all the charge lots off to the right side, looking to go for a big ol' attack into the third, as perhaps Hero looks to defend with almost pure immortal. As many immortals as Stalkers right there. That is a game plan. Is it the best one I've ever heard of? I mean, depends. If it forces a base trade, that's also where Dark Shrine could be really good. I feel like is this intending to force a base trade? It kind of feels that way. Zealots to the left, a bunch of zealots to the right, not much in the middle. Scan ahead reveals a weirdly small army, and you gotta wonder what the hell that means. Where's the Colossus? Where's the Stalkers? Where's the charge lots? Well, found the charge lots. They're only on 3 gases. Hero can afford quite a lot. Fortunately, I think Clem was already getting a little suspect when he scanned. So there is a strong reaction so far. Repair on the bunker, hold position on the SCVs, dancing around with the bio, but unfortunately just not enough reinforcements as of yet to deal with all that many zealots. Clem does go for the attack, by the way. His charge is right on in there. 3 immortals still up and running. Raven trying to help. Vikings end up landing. There's no Colossus to kill after all. And this looks like a big old mess, but Chargelot's coming on the backside. Tank's not very effective. Bio starting to get overstimmed. Medevac's not able to heal. Zealot's actually getting nice and close. +2. Also now finished. And Hero maybe made that work. That seemed awfully dangerous, but it seems like it has. 3rd CC. Did it die? It did die. Orbital command dead. That is a 4th. That is only halfway done building. Hero, meanwhile, grabs a 5th. Wow. Okay, and I think that is it. Yeah, Clem's gonna have to tap out. He, that is a game. That is a game. All things considered, besides losing the 3rd CC, which is obviously terrible, that just, shouldn't have happened. I really thought his anti-bajillion zealot defense was pretty impressive. I mean, that was probably 30 zealots on the other side of the map. 20 from the right and 10 on the left, or something close to it. And he would only have lost, I think it was like 18 SCVs, if this plays out. And then again, he would have had 4 CCs. This wasn't canceled. This theoretically doesn't die. I do think he was also a bit surprised at how much the defense happened. Because at the end of the... I mean, what did he see when he attacked? So he's like, oh shit, Zealots. Doesn't lift, unfortunately. Micro. Jumps on top of the Immortals. Immortals... God, good lord, he had 6 Immortals? Okay. Still. That seems like so little. There's Zealots in the back and Zealots from the side. I mean, they both made mistakes. But Hero had the infrastructure still up. And frankly, with 5 bases finishing, I'm not even sure Clem's 3rd CC would have kept him in the game. Seems such a gambly game for the Pearls. But alright, that's it. Clem is going to drop down to the lower bracket, where he faces Max Pax in a best of 1. I am going to cast Clem versus Max Pax. But it is just the best of 1. So this is the lower bracket finals. Whoever wins this goes on to face Hero in the upper bracket. Bottom left, Clem. Top right, Max Pax. Both of these guys losing to Hero to be placed in the lower bracket. Clem's a little warmed up when it comes to this TVP matchup. But I don't think that necessarily does a lot. And sometimes, depending on how badly the last best of went with the matchup, it can sometimes even be worse. Clem might be, I don't know, more familiar with Max Pax. He faces Hero a lot too, but Clem Max Pax is the old standard. Max Pax has actually been changing up his style a little bit. I don't think he was a particularly big Storm user before the patch shenanigans happened. And then for the brief, terrible Storm that we had, he was, no one was a Storm user. But when we got the new Storm, the current Storm, Max Pax was using it mid to late game certainly versus Beyond, very necessary at that point. Then he's been bringing out some more Storm openers as well. Rather than going to Colossus as your main form of AoE, going to Storm instead. That's particular for this matchup, but just to further evidence, Max Pax has been kind of mixing up his typical style. He's been doing a lot less 1-gate expands in PvP. In fact, almost none. Which I think we'll see more of. Max Pax 2-gating. Just seems to be the trend. Maybe his 1-gate has been figured out too much. Maybe he wants the flexibility of 2-gate, which can be offensive and defensive. Maybe, I don't know, X, Y, or Z. I haven't asked him. But Max Pax was pretty, not standard, but he did his thing and he did it very well. And it's been a little different. I do think he still goes for Twilight Council. He still goes for 3-gate War Prism a whole heck of a lot. It's just such a good tool for him. Falling up to Colossus, falling up to Storm. These are now things that you do have to question to a certain degree and actually scout. Clem has opted for 1-Rock Expanded again. Bunker coming down nice and safe. Max Pax will open up with an Adept, though. Hero is eager to Stalker opener. Max Pax goes for the Adept. Double Adept, actually. And gets guarding on this Reaper, which is sure to come. The Reaper even took a detour, but still perfect timing there for Max Pax. That might be why he did it. that, you know, there's less maps with ramps of the natural, but I said that for the last map pool as well. Like, the fact... so often I remember what I say, I guess, more than I remember the actual maps. But max packs... There is literally nerfs directed toward max packs' PvP, and that still didn't deter him. And then, yeah, the map stopped having as many natural ramps, and that still didn't deter him for the longest time. So maybe it's just been too long, but I don't know. Adept gets into the main base and will kill nothing. Killed 1 SCV. Clem kills 2 probes. A little tit for tat. But the Reaper survives and the Adept didn't, so better for Clem, who now wants to go and maybe engage the Adept if it gets a little too aggressive. Did catch the Reaper. The Hellion ended up being the scout, but Marines went back home. Does he know that it is not Twilight Council? He doesn't. Yeah, so if he thought there was a potential for a Stargate, which he has just faced in the last 40 minutes, then not having his Marines anywhere close to home is quite dangerous. Plus, if there is an Adept that he had miscounted, and it was ready to shade in, again, trying to be too clever, catching this one might have backfired. But it is just this one, and it is a Twilight Council opener. Helene wins that battle. Drop is going to include Marines this time, and this will be the real scout, honestly, from Clem. He wants to see if it's a 3-gate, wants to see if it's Twilight Council. At this point, the Oracle would have shown up already, but still... and the 3rd Nexus timing, if you can see that as well. But it is 3-gate Robo. Just to confirm. Max Pax, every now and again brings out the old 4-gate, maybe even 2 gates, but this is his bread and butter for the first 5 minutes of PvT. And then again, the question now, Storm or Colossus? Before it was all Colossus, now could be Storm. Drop, including Marines, does change the dynamic a little bit. No shield battery in the main, and the probe, unfortunately, the Widowmine, unfortunately, wasted shot. Does grab 2 probes before getting out of there just before Blink is done. Now, knowing that it is Blink and knowing Max Packs, should be some proper defenses being set up back at home. And that's exactly what's going down. Bunker number 2 in the natural. Tank starting to figure out their positioning. Little Sim City to help out as well. Medevac knowing that it's probably going to be chased. It's trying its best to boost whenever it can. And it looks like it will just barely get away from the Stalkers. Boost is almost ready again. Okay, the Stalkers aren't chasing. 3rd Nexus is scouted, not a 4-gate. So there is that, but still against a 3-gate from Max Pax, you do want to err on the side of caution, and the 2nd bunker still feels pretty... Yeah, it still kind of feels like you gotta go for it. Medevac was being repaired, and thank goodness, otherwise it would be killed. Still could be killed. They're not gonna go for it with the rest of the army in tow, so good save on the Medevac from Clem. Max Pax not gonna find a lot with the Stalkers. This is just clearly a Terran who has prepared for them. So I think forcing the issue at this point, not going to work out. But behind this, 3rd Nexus, so we're halfway done. Storm is, in fact, on the way. And Clem is not quite going to get eyes on that. Not for some time. I don't know. The scan's really... Scan is often not worth it for a Terran. They'll figure it out some other way. Like this Raven will try and go across the map and do some harassment. Right now, it's at home, making sure the gateway units don't do much more. Observer pushed away. Warp Prism pushed away. Seems like Clem's got his base on lockdown. Seems to be in a good place too, right? So you got more supply, feeling good. 6 worker difference, not 8. Max Pax is 3rd, only just finishing. But a lot of the reason that the supply is different is that Max Pax is holding on to actually warping in stuff. And instead getting gateways, probes, storm, charge, shield battery. And then boom, suddenly his army will explode in supply. And if not that, then, you know, explode in, I suppose, it's lethality. It's going to have storm in charge. So without EMPs taking them away, they are quite scary. More so than before. All Clem is scouted is that there's no 4th base. Which is something. I mean, if this was super low gas, maybe it could be on the way. 5th and 6th gases being built. Just enough gas so far to build up the High Templars. 4 storms will be available as Clem starts his move across the map. Looks like he scanned the Observer. Yes, he did. Since he saw it, didn't want it just roaming around in the Warp Prism, well, it's going to take its time. The natural is going to be open. The Viking will kill it, but not before it drops off the Zealots. And as Max Pack sees the move out, he's getting ready to deal with it. Scouts being denied. Or Clem scouts are being denied. Max Pax is sending out his own scouts as well. Wants to know where the army is attacking in. It's actually not. Decides to go back home. Seeing now the 4th base is put down. You know, maybe if it was already on its way, you think, okay, this guy's been a little bit greedy, gonna go punish that, but would not have found a lot of wiggle room around the 3rd. Max Pax was preparing in every way that he possibly could. Scouting, Warp Prism, positioning of his army. He's always going to get in the offensive. Wouldn't mind surprises him for a second. Does he have an observer? He does. Now it's on the front lines. Obviously, the High Templar are going to be protected from the Warp Prism, but we don't have those ghosts out quite yet, so this is important timing. Max Pax is looking for a bit more of an opener, but Clem seems to have every choke at least watched. He doesn't have all of his army here, though. One tank not going to be a part of this, but just enough with the high ground being used, too. It catches the observer. That is nice. Take the eyes away from the Protoss. Warp Prism goes into the natural. Like I said, the Viking will eventually kill this, but the Zealots will still be a nuisance. And any amount of units that go back is good. Any amount of attention diverted towards that is also good. Little Marine squad in the main base has ended up taking out the Warp Prism instead. Tank goes down to the front lines, but Clem's army not getting stormed to death as of yet. EMP's trying to hit, but feedback was there. EMP once again trying there. It actually does hit on half the High Templars. Storm did still deal a decent amount of damage to the overall army. Scans and really, really wants that Archon. I don't know about that. Yeah, the Archon gets injured, but doesn't quite get killed. Clem still had a healthy supply. Now he does have a dependable number of ghosts as well. 3 more are going to be on the way. 4th CC building this entire time. Seems like he has gotten through the worst of the storm problem. Now the problem is making sure that you're able to, well, balance your own defenses, I suppose, against the relentless onslaught of Max Pax, first of all, who's not going to give up just because Storm is no longer unparried, I guess. But I don't know. Colossus, there's 2 of them. That's still a lot of bio. Clem has survived rather well. And Max Pax, although he does like to be out and in charge, taking control of these chokes, of these ramps. This is probably where Clem is at his strongest, particularly defensively. But Max Pax, yeah, did pull away from that. That made a lot of sense. 3rd Colossus now out. Second Thermal Lancer only halfway done. He is going to grab a 4th Colossus. 2-1 on the way for his upgrades. And for Clem, does start up his 2-2 as I'm speaking. 2nd Starport as well. He's getting to that late game infrastructure. As his 4th tries to turn into a planetary. Protoss army is close. Wouldn't mind scouts that. Clem has another army off to the left side, though, so he's not only defending, and he does manage to bypass any and all scouting, but the Max Pax has his own harassment squad ready to go. Zealots and a Storm or 2 for the SCVs being pulled away, but engagement's going to happen on the right side. Upgrade lead to Clem. Nice little concave as well. And maybe just a little bit too much of a Protoss army to pierce through, as he is also being attacked on his 3rd base. Has to go respond to that. Also has to micro the Marines right here. Does force the recall. Storm plus Blink. 2 medevacs. Barely managing to escape. How much damage is done at that 3rd? Not a catastrophic amount at all. Nice feedback on a full Ghost. Get that killed. That was for multiple attacks. I mean, it seems to actually be a bit of a wash. 10 ACVs have gone down. Only 9 probes. 30 Zealots, though. Jeez. 1 Colossus did fall to the Vikings. Max Pax does max out a little bit faster, but Clem has the room. He has the money, too. It's the gas, actually, that's a bit of a problem for him, as he also tries to start his transition over into Liberators. That is fairly expensive. It's going to take a little while longer. Storms up a lot of the Vikings, injures them. Not too much follow-up there, but these storms just, they last forever. And Clem isn't even going to take the fight. Clem is just going to tap out. Ooh. A little frustrated? No. I can never call Clem's quit a rage quit, because he just doesn't. I don't think rage is in his emotional range, but all things considered, this was still not an impossible task for Clem, but I think he just saw how much his SimCity was working against him, how much the Protoss was getting back on his side of the map while still having 5 bases, and just kind of saw the future, if you will. He was just like, okay, this is how it's going to go, and I don't want to play that game. GG's. Max Pax will advance on to face Hero in a PvP finals. I mean, he was at equal supply before the game ended. But yeah, the how to say the without inciting people, the difficulties of that engagement were higher for the Terran than for the Protoss for sure. Clem was also probably, you know, if his Liberators were already out, would have had a better time. But mid-transition, without enough gas, too. He had not maybe accounted for as much gas he needed, or just simply put, like, a Terran wouldn't get that much gas with everything they're building that fast. There are only 2 Pro Zergs. Sometimes it feels that way, doesn't it? Technically not. I mean, Lambo still plays. A laser shows up every now and again. That's kind of it, though, honestly, as far as I can think of, like, our top-tier Zergs in Europe. In Korea, there's still Solar. Dark actually tweeted. He got back into Grandmaster while in military. Shin. So there's a couple Korean Zergs. North American Zergs, well, there was Scarlet, but it seems like she's not really playing at all anymore. Late game PvT isn't fun for the Terran, but I don't know. I don't know if it's changed, but like late game isn't as I think as one-sided. Like when the Terran does get Liberators, and there's a little bit more of like a win condition that they see, that they could win with them. Frankly, we just don't have a lot of pro gamers. I mean, it can even be easy to think of how many pro gamers we had 10 years ago, and you're just like, well, 10 years is a long time. And you're like, yeah, sure. But even thinking about how many pro gamers we had like 3 years ago still feels like a massive difference. It's a PvP finals. Best of 5, and then maybe a best of 3 after. In the bottom left, it is Max Pax. In the top right, it is Hero. Hero is in the upper bracket. Max Pax is in a rematch against him. Previously, they played a best of 3, and Hero 2-0'd him. And from what I saw, they're kind of one-sided. That does happen in PvP, so I'm not saying that just means that Hero is obviously playing better today. All it takes is a couple of macro mistakes or reads that are very difficult to make 100%, and suddenly PvP feels like a matchup that's, you know, decisively one way or another. But yeah, if Max Pax does take revenge here in a best of 5, he actually manages to win, he still would have to face him again in a best of 3. So that's a lot of PvP. And, well, the good news is Max Pax, being a European Protoss, plays in the European server. He hopefully has built up quite the tolerance to playing repetitive PvPs over and over and over again. And it's also just the way of a lot of these open cups. Not always PvP finals, because Beyond and Clem were quite good. Maybe a Zerg does show up like a Rainer. But, yeah, it's PvP, man. Fortunately, I still enjoy the matchup, particularly when I'm watching it, not playing it. And I do think it's a good matchup as far as watching, because it does have a strong early game. A lot could happen. Cheeses, big micro decisions, big tech decisions. mid-game. Ditto on the tech decisions. Ditto on, like, you know, there's a couple of all-ins you can do. There's a couple of clever things you can do. And then it doesn't go to a late game very often. Late game still is fun. Late game, should we actually get to, like, Sky Toss? Haven't seen one of those in a while. Okay, that's not as fun. But I would be curious to see it in this meta, this patch. Just because, yeah, theoretically, Storm would be a lot better against Sky Toss. But it's, you know, so unlikely we'll get there. What I hope remains unlikely as well is that both players go Phoenix versus Phoenix, but there's always a chance. Not this game. Not this game. That's my least favorite thing is Phoenix versus Phoenix, but not this time. Hero is going to proxy Robo. As I was saying earlier, MaxPack's doing more and more of the 2 gates rather than the 1 max expand, which he was very religious about. I mean, no matter, it's been years. Been years that he was the 1 gate expand guy. Across a variety of map pools, a variety of patches. And something about the last couple of months has made him go, not anymore. Maybe he doesn't want to be that guy. Maybe, as I said, he liked the flexibility. Because one thing is 1 gate expand did not give him was the ability to be aggressive. He had to play defensive all the time. I don't know. But MaxPack's finding some good news here for game 1. The start of the revenge. He finds the proxy Robo. Adept gonna have to skedaddle, but the Stalker should help a lot here until the Immortal pops out anyway. Both sides managing to run away from each other, but this is 2 pylons powering the Robos. There is 0 chance of depowering. As we can see, it might have been close if it was only 1 pylon. That Immortal would not get out, actually. Yeah, that would have stopped it. I do love that MaxPack still grabs the pylon while he can. Anything to possibly interrupt Hero's all-in. You know, if supply block happens because of that, fantastic. It's a bit awkward, though. MaxPack's blocking himself out while blocking the Adepts out, so the Immortal does get a couple of shots, gets lifted by a Phoenix. Stargate choice for MaxPack going into the Phoenix, not the Void Ray, pops out faster, but does have limited utility thanks to the energy base that it's on. The Adept also continuing to block out the Stalkers as long as possible is a nice touch right there from Hero. Thankfully, MaxPack did think ahead to a certain degree, well, to a lot of actually degree, and he also got a shield battery. Second Phoenix pops out, takes the Immortal out of the equation. Stalker numbers just a little bit better for MaxPack. The Phoenix will eventually regain energy as well. And this looks like one hell of a defense. I mean, walling off against the Adepts is absolutely important. Knowing that his own army wouldn't be able to escape, though, definitely needs a shield battery. Needs a shield battery either way, but having it where it is, very, very nicely done. And then going Stargate to Phoenix. Not the Void Ray that we would sometimes see, as people think emergency army defense mode. Void Ray, big thing, deals a lot of damage to armored. Yeah, it can, but the Phoenix is a little more clever. It does require that precise usage, but so far so good. Force Field, though, that was very nice there from Hero, who now has the Warp Prism available to try and micro, but again, a place where Phoenix might come in handy. 3 Phoenix, not going to kill Warp Prism super quickly, but it will help, and it will stop the Warp Prism from juggling super offensively. MaxPack, though, did just lose a handful of Stalkers that he really wish he did not. Trying to get a little aggressive right there. And now he's kind of just trapped. Tough decisions to be made right now for MaxPack. He's going to add on his own Robo. Has to build shield batteries back and back and back. He's losing production as well as his wall. Still not something that Hero can easily break out of. What's over here? Oh, a little pylon. Okay. That Hero can break into, excuse me. He might try. That is very, very dangerous. MaxPack's now out of gateways, just on Stargate Robo, which is, you know, he can only afford 1 building being used anyway. That is a lot of Hero coming up the ramp. Guardian Shield, funnily enough, not affecting too much, as it just steamrolls ahead. But it's laying the foundation. It's making the way. Warp Prism still juggling units. The Phoenix try and get the kill. So many units for Hero. It's just what it's going to be about. He had taken down MaxPack's Stalker count out beyond the natural. And that has led to the success of this engagement. MaxPack's such a difficult hole to make, of course. I feel like if you were going to improve on one thing in this game, which he has now lost, 100%, it would have been that move out right there. GG's. Just confirm where we were at before those Stalkers died. Yeah, this thing. Yeah, right there. 3 workers ahead. Army supply, relatively even. 5 stalkers to 5. Warp prism to 2 phoenix. 2 sentries to none. A mortal is going to pop out. Kind of starts taking engagement. Realizes he shouldn't take the engagement. That force field was so nasty, though. That force field was really it. I mean, suddenly you're down 2 stalkers. You're down 5 in total, actually, from earlier on. I mean, I don't know if 2 stalkers would have held this any better, honestly. Now he has the conundrum of going down his own ramp. Yeah, it probably wasn't that. I mean, but, you know, arguably, if he didn't push out as much, maybe he could have fit in a shield, but I don't know. It's such a tough place to be defending this. But yeah, X-Pax does lose game 1. I mean, StarCraft 2 has been out for longer than 10 years. I just said 10 years, just thinking of, I don't know, 2015, with all the Kespa players still being around, too. 15 years ago, the very beginning of StarCraft 2, you had so many wannabe pros. And the best thing about it was that they all somewhat had a chance. Terrible players would consistently beat Idra. Game 2 is going to be on Tokamak. Bottom left, Max Pax. Top right, Hero. This means that Hero, as of this day, is now 3-0 against Max Pax. He did 2-0 him earlier on with some aggressive maneuvers as far as I could see. So continued on that trend. Proxy Robo. It looked to be held decently well, I thought. Even though Max Pax did lose some stalkers, I feel like it's so difficult not to. The high ground shield battery, the Phoenix. I don't know. I would need to go ahead and listen to Max Pax analyze that game to see where he could have improved. But hopefully he knows what he should have done. Because there's a very real possibility that Hero does that again. There's some different architecture to all the maps, so there's reasons to why maybe it wouldn't be as effective or even more effective. Yeah, sure. But Proxy Robos, PvP, they happen a decent amount of time. It's going to be 2-gate versus 2-gate again, which before you would have to be very specific when you're facing Max Pax. Is he 2-gating? Is he 1-gate expanding? Now, maybe it's just like any other PvP where you just default. I don't even have to say it anymore. Capcom needs to make an RTS? I don't see an appeal with Capcom, actually. Well, I mean, Capcom has a couple of good strategy games that they've at least published. You know what still grinds my gears reading people talk about RTS is when they say RTS and then they list games that in my eyes are not RTS. And I mean that in a very technical sense. You know, because obviously like RTS Age of Mythology is different than StarCraft, and 4Xs are different. But in my eyes, real-time strategy has to be something that you can't pause. And so many games that people list are games that you can pause, or games that, you know, you aren't even competing, certainly, so you definitely are supposed to be able to pause. And I'm like, okay. People will be like, oh, this is a 1-gate, wait. I had to correct myself. Okay, this is a 1-gate. I mean, I was kind of wondering. I could have just easily compared to Hero, but yeah, this is actually going to be a 1-gate. So he's bringing back the old Max Pax style. Hero, one of the players who pretty much would always try and be aggressive against Max Pax. There's like these periods where Max Pax was just dominant with this, and then he wasn't as dominant, but still pretty good, and then people tried to all-in him, and he figured out every single all-in and could defend against it, so people gave up on that, and they tried to play his game. They couldn't play it as well as him. They gave up on that. They went back to all-inning. Hero almost never tried to play his game. It was always an all-in or something really tricky, sneaky about it. This time around, it does seem like he is going to go ahead and just grab a Nexus. Hero saw the 1-gate. Maybe didn't already pre-plan an all-in, didn't want to do it anyway. But this is now A faster Nexus, not by that much for Max Packs. Against Hero, who does have 4 Stalkers, but can't do too much against someone who now has a shield battery in the natural. I didn't think Capcom supported their esports that much. I would certainly think of Riot or Valve even. I know Valve doesn't actually support all their esports, but... Grubsy? No one's ever called me that. How does Blizzard fix the irony on Protoss's brittle aesthetic but blobby gameplay? Brittle aesthetic? I've never thought of their aesthetic as brittle or fragile. Interesting. Capcom loves SF6. Oh, well, that's nice. I know of the Capcom Pro Tour. I never really got a good grasp on how much it was really supporting in esports, though, to be honest. In fact, I feel like I heard something about how... Well, anyway, not to go into that. We'll go into it at a later time. We do have a bit of an attack on the way. Max Packs, I mean, I don't think this is really at all committed. This might be able to find a little distraction for Max Packs' Oracle. It doesn't do that, as the units can be properly placed, and this Oracle in the main base also is already shoot away, so yeah, there's not much damage done. But you gotta try, and there is still the threat. This is why these Oracles can be very powerful, even if they seem to take away, like, from Stalkers, you know? Like, I'd rather have more Stalkers. Well, sometimes. Sometimes those Oracles are freaking amazing. So far, they're not, but they are alive. Third Nexus is being taken for both parties. It could be... Hero could try and be aggressive with faster Blink, guaranteed with the openers. More Stalkers as well for a period of time anyway. Like, you could try and go for an aggressive maneuver, especially with the shield battery not being done. But... Stasis traps could buy time. Case in point. Defender's advantage would still kick in to a certain degree. Without, or a big degree actually, without Warp Prism for Hero. And Hero very much clearly not planning to be the aggressor, even built his own shield battery before Max Packs did. The third Nexus should actually mine here. No one's willing to dedicate a super big attack anyway. Yeah, not even a lot of gateways having gone down as of yet, so very actually macro PvP. Sometimes you see a third gateway put down, but then or a third Nexus, but then you also see 4 gateways on someone's side, and you're like, no, this could still die before the third Nexus is actually impactful. No, this is third Nexus, and both of them continuing to build probes. Charge comes out for Max Packs. Hero not yet dedicating to that as he takes the battle here. Guardian Shield would be tremendous help for battles like this. Extra gateways coming down too. Still waiting on that charge though for Hero, which he did forget in the game earlier, but there it is. That and +1, fairly evenly timed with the opponent. Cannon comes down too for a little bit of static defense help. Robo has to come down around the 3 bases, as about as late as you could really push it off. If anyone had gone for an earlier Dark Shrine, that would have been trouble, but there also would have been signs. And I think Max Packs will also get a Robo very, very soon. I have seen people wait for that till the 4th base, and I guess that's... If there is no Dark Shrine, I suppose there's no immediate need, but... Maybe you do want a couple of Immortals. You do want a Warp Prism as you're readying an attack. Max Packs still hasn't grabbed it. On the more passive PvP, certainly more than I was expecting. Thought Hero was going to be the aggressor. Choosing not to. Max Packs does grab a 4th. All before the Robo is down. Hero seems mindful of the potential of Dark Shrine. Does not scout the 4th base as of yet. Robotics Bay. He's going to be going into some Disruptors. Some classic PvP. Dark Shrine does come down from Max Packs, all before the Robo. This is... You know, at this time, though, you're not really expecting the DTs to necessarily win the game. Ugh, excuse me. But you are thinking this is an off timing and it could do some pretty serious damage. It can still help throughout the rest of this game. This game has gone to a point where I feel like it is going to last at least a couple minutes longer, and Dark Shrine can help at any point. But with the defenses that Hero set up, observers, plural, cannons, plural, 1 or 2 DTs will not be a problem. Pretty even on the Stalker count. Hero has managed to get quite far ahead on the upgrade. Just started it much quicker and has been putting chronos into it. MaxPax, he is adding on his own Robo, but if he did want to go into Disruptors, I mean, he's significantly later than Hero. I don't know if that is his plan, or he's going to try and go for just a mass gateway. Currently only on 4 gases. I'm kind of leaning towards that mass gateway, just flood the zone type of style. Does have some haphazard Stalkers running back. We had a stasis trap pop on Hero. Run around, literally just run around game. Hero is at a lower supply, but this is where the Disruptor is supposed to come in. You can shoot that bad boy more often than before. It didn't get its radius increase, it didn't get a damage change, but you can shoot it more often. And this is I want to say classic PvP, but it feels like there's been more PvPs where you just do not get the Disruptors, but this used to be so common. And then the idea of one person going Disruptors, the other person going Mass Gateway, was actually very entertaining PvP in my eyes. But this seems to be a little one-sided. The Disruptor not even impacting the majority of this battle, it feels like. Although it looks like Hero's done fine. I'm looking at the supplies overall. He is still down 20 army supply. He still does not have a 4th base. He does have a superior upgrade, but not for long. It's not that Hero is dead and out, but Hero does have to be very cost efficient, which his style would ideally play to. This is a big stasis trap. He's that actually that's going to affect this upcoming battle. 30 to 30 Stalkers, but then, you know, like 10 of them are in stasis. Those Disruptors going to have to hit. This one is not. Kind of catches the edge of a Stalker right there. Love the stasis traps. They don't last as long as they used to, but it's still a long time. 90 seconds versus 170, wasn't it? It's still a decent time. That means that if he does manage to get, you know, maybe hit by a Disruptor, goes, oh shit, I'm not winning this battle, he can try to retreat, and at the very least, Hero will take some time chasing after him. But for MaxPax, you really have to keep up the pressure. You have to continue trading out, hopefully with your superior economy, of which it is superior, and then eventually whittling away the numbers that, you know, pure Disruptor can't really protect itself. And I feel like it's already happening to a certain degree. The Disruptors, again, not involved in the fights as of yet. MaxPax not getting the best fight. We're at actually a point where the Stalker count is so large with these chokes, not every single Stalker will actually be active in the battle. With equal upgrades again, MaxPax faster to the +3. Might start including some charge lots as well. Hero does not just hold on to the 4th base, which he desperately needed, but has also managed to recover, and then more so recover, the army supply. That actually turned around way more. I was seeing that even supply overall, but that turned way more because, of course, he's been down 15-ish probes for a very long time. So a 30 army supply lead for Hero. MaxPax not getting the engagements, not getting the distractions that he's wanted. And the 4th base actually being gotten really does change things, although... no, I'm not sure you died for this one. That seems very dangerous, but MaxPax had a lot of Zealots and DTs in the main base as well. Hero is a little prepared for that. DT Blink is being used. As the cannon does go down, that means the Stalkers can no longer defend against the Dark Templar. The Stalkers over on that 4th base try to take it down, decided to retreat, try to go back in. Hero is actually defending that fairly well, but another good stasis trap. And then MaxPax has more DTs every which way that we look. Main base is under fire. 3rd base is under fire. 4th base might be protected, but it's not even mining. And in the blink of an eye, Hero's economy has just been decimated down to 34 probes. Yes, on 4 bases. Yes, with 20 more army supply. But now also missing a Nexus, so make that 3 bases. MaxPax has managed to get up to 5 during this entire time. When Hero decides, and Hero has to decide to go for a big old all-in, MaxPax is going to have a lot of waves of army to get through, and he might even get to +3 attack, although the fight is happening right here, right now, so that's not going to be the case. Now MaxPax realizing he's got to buy more time. This Immortal alone not going to be helpful enough. So few Stalkers left over from MaxPax as he scrambles his way back home. He still has offensive units. He actually still warping in, but this is it. This is Hero going for the all-in. This is his only chance to win. MaxPax knows it, but did he pull back too late? Now the Disruptors in an offensive position can just ward away the army as Hero takes on his opponent's economy. There's so much more economy to take down, however, so that's going to just take up longer, frankly. And that might be something that MaxPax is also thinking of, actually turning this into a full-on base race. Clearly, Hero is completely all in. Make sure that he also has to worry about losing his last building. There's an aggressive blink forward from Hero. MaxPax has blink, blinks out of the way. Disruptors, Zealots, and Immortal getting some shots on these stalkers. Very important, as these are the last units Hero is warping in. Observer goes down. Oh, no. Hero is rebuilding an Observer, but any DTs coming in here to get some free damage done. Zealots, though, are still the option, not DTs, and that seems to be maybe just good enough. Dodging away from the Disruptor still, keeping a decent-sized Stalker Ball, +3 attack, had finished at some point, helping MaxPax in these battles. Another Immortal just for a little extra damage, and this does seem like it's it. Hero has lost his Disruptors, he's lost his army supply lead, he's lost his main base. Whew. They're all in. The last desperate all in as the Protoss loses their base is always a little sketch. But MaxPax does end up holding and ties up the series 1-1. I miss those PvPs. And now we're tied up going on a Persephone. Bottom left MaxPax, top left Hero. I'm saying I miss those PvPs. During the COVID years, all those insane regional days that lasted 12 plus hours. Really, they were, I mean, you had StarCraft going on 18 hours every day. 6 days a week, I think it was. Because the Aussies were covering Asia as well. That was crazy time. What was happening then? Anyway, so many Protoss versus Protoss. And that was very heavy in the meta. The 3 base, first of all, actually getting 3 base. That, like, cheese has always existed. This is a matchup that could always either be 5 minutes long or 30 minutes long. And it more towards the 5 minutes long. But there were just so many PvPs that were around these Disruptors. There was just literally Disruptor versus Disruptor for a very long time. It seemed to be the standard PvP. Then it ebbed and flowed, and then it came back in the COVID years. Then we had people who just went Mass Gateway, which is what MaxPax did last game. Didn't go for Disruptors, went for more economy, more units, more of that Zergy trade with superior economy situation. And those are just fond memories, man. I can look back on it now fondly, of course, because I'm not taking into account all the hours of dreadfully boring games that did happen, not gonna lie. It's like playing World of Warcraft. You hear your friends talk about the sick new raid boss that they just defeated, and you're like, wow, that sounds so fun. I should play again. And it's like, do these 50 quests, and you might have good enough gear. And you're like, nah, never mind. Anyway. I appreciate the variety that comes with the PvP. 2-gate opener, officially. So we do still have to pay attention to this for MaxPax. He does bring out the 1-gate, but it used to be 95% 1-gate. Now it's, I don't know, 60% 1-gate, or 2-gate, 40% 1-gate. Someone do the math. Stalker Adept for MaxPax, so kind of splitting the difference of defense, offense, and harassment, I guess. Whereas Hero goes for double Stalker. And a shield battery?
I'm here in the shadows.
Oh, he blocked in the probe. Oh, okay. I was like, did I miss a pylon out in the map? Oh, I just wanted to make sure that probe died. You ain't getting away without a recall, which MaxPax did not use. Stargate, very important on the way for MaxPax. Hero's probe would have seen the intention of a third, but not the exact timing of it. And if he had seen the exact timing, he would have said, okay, something happened before that, but I don't know if he actually realizes. I don't think the timing was quite perfect there. I don't think so. MaxPax is 1 Adept. Very unlikely to get a lot of harassment done, but if he gets into the main and gets a scout, well, how about that? That's still pretty good. 1 probe dead, looking for a second, gonna get a second. No! Stupid wind-up. Good on Hero, though. Pulling the probes was actually perfect. Otherwise, the second probe would have gone down. Stargate for Hero as well. God damn it. Swear to God, if you get Phoenix versus Phoenix. This is a much later Stargate than Max Pax's, though, so this is kind of a weird one where it's like not even a question of, hey, did you get Phoenix or Oracle first? This hallucination saw the Oracle. The Stalkers get some damage on the Oracle, and that is a good start to defending it. And it does look like Hero was all over that, so it does look like he got the scout before this hallucination. At some point, wait, I totally missed how he got a scout in the Stargate. I guess there was a first hallucination, that's the second one. And so that's why he's totally prepared for this. And perhaps also why he did go for a responsive Stargate. Still interesting to see that, though. This is not something that, if you scout it fast enough, you also do Stargate. That's not, you can, obviously. But all right. Doesn't want the Oracles to bother him. Last game, they didn't do much as far as the direct probe damage, which is what we often think is the most bothersome. But they did have a couple of good stasis traps. And even if we don't see the probes dying to the Oracles, what we also don't see is the frustration of the defensive Protoss always having to make sure that there's two Stalkers ready to defend against them or a shield battery or what have you. Oracles do dip in as the Adepts get to the main. One Phoenix means only one Adept shooting. But this is just every which way we look. My eyes have to go two different directions to actually track all of this. Oracle in the main kills more probes. Oracle in the natural is shooed away by the very real Phoenix, and thus will die. Last second revelation, because why not? Does that Phoenix scout that really tricky probe? I don't think it did. I don't think it did. Max Pax, proxying a pylon, recalls Stalkers, realizes he's in a little bit of trouble. His second Oracle is also now in trouble, and since he used the recall, he can't recall it. That might just be dead, but he's got his eyes set on perhaps an aggressive prize. He might have to reconsider. Max Pax has been totally thrown back to his own base. His proxy pylon can only be used now, I would say, for maybe Adepts if he sees the opportunity, but if he was planning to be aggressive with his own Blink Stalkers, well, that was a ways off anyway. And his first happening for Hero, although these aren't Blink, keep in mind, he went Stargate into Robo, actually. It does mean he's got a Warp Prism. And I'm not sure Max Pax was anticipating that, although he did scout the Robo. He is not scouting his base. Oh, good lord. Oh, no. Oh, Max Pax. He wanted to do his own attack and had no idea that he was being attacked in turn. This is a clever way of doing things from Hero. As we see him probably just win the game, let's be real. Blink is... Oh, it's depowered! Oh, no. Yeah, he definitely won the game. Oh, yeah. I was like, well, it'll be done soon, I guess. But still, you're blinking into the Stalkers. It's never ideal, but it's not going to be done. Oh, it's repowered, but it's still so few Stalkers on the side of Max Pax. Looks like Hero isn't willing to engage someone who will now be able to reflexively blink, since he didn't have to blink over that force field. And that's fair enough, but he did so much damage. I'd say it's still game over. 18 probes dead. Hero ahead by 12. He's got more army. He does not have blink, so mobility is a little bit of an issue that, could give Max Pax an opportunity to maybe take like a third fight. I mean, it's just not enough. Whatever I think of is not enough. If he takes a third faster, it's not like he can really defend it. Hero might not have mobility, but it doesn't take that long to move Stalker Immortal across to punish it. I do like that he grabs a Phoenix. The recall was just used, so this Warp Prism's a bit SOL. I don't know what went down there, to be honest with you. But the Warp Prism did in fact fall. I guess his Phoenix was over there? Hero's Phoenix? Max Pax has one more shot, and that is his attack that he had planned. Still has the proxy gateway, and microing Stalkers is pretty good. Maybe the Immortal is caught out. Suddenly that's gone. Suddenly it's 15 Stalkers to 10 non-Blink Stalkers. Could happen. This is what Hero has to be very wary of. So if Max Pax expanded, Hero attacks. If Hero sees an attack on the way, he'd probably better defend. And while he's not defending close at home, this is actually a bit questionable. That's clearly a lot of Stalkers. Max Pax goes for the Immortal, grabs more Stalkers while he's at it. The second Immortal is here, but so are Warpins. Hero, of course, had no idea there was a proxy gateway, so he was unable to take that into account. But he does still have two Immortals, make that one Immortal He still has done a lot of damage to MaxPax's forces, and it looks like being on the front was not a problem. I was a little concerned, for sure. But he does end up winning the ragtag battle that happened right there. As much as MaxPax tries to throw this into chaos, there's just too much from Hero. He's too reliably warping in on his very comfortable economy. MaxPax only just now recovering his own 2-base mineral income. Recalls out only 2 stalkers. Yeah, that's not much of an army. Oh, 4 more stalkers came in to kill a couple of probes. There is that, but Hero... So I was saying he was so comfortable on his economy for so long. Check out that income graph. Big red. Replacing 5... Because I say 5 because he only has to replace so many. He is both of them starting to run out of minerals in the main. It's not too problematic. Or he just doesn't replace them at all. Everything goes into the army. Hero's Blink is now also done. But he also has 2 immortals. He's also got a Warp Prism being built. MaxPax trying to get the charge, trying to get to his own immortal. That immortal will pop. Shield battery will be in play. Maybe a probe pull as well. This game could get weird. If Hero over-dedicates and ends up losing the battle, I mean, that's still a possibility. You could also try and play this smart. Nice force field right there. Hero's immortal is going to go down. Adepts in the main base looking for damage, though, are not being focus fired, so the Stalkers are currently winning that battle, and Hero... could be in some trouble. Does start to focus fire? No, he's still not. It's actually the Adepts of MaxPax that are also doing some probe damage. Zealots are being warped in, but charge is still not yet done. Things are very, very close. MaxPax now ahead by 6 probes, but that's inefficient mining. It still is maybe a little bit better, but you can see in the actual numbers how close it is despite a 7-probe lead. It looks like MaxPax has indeed held. Nicely done. Dealt some probe damage to his opponent again, too, so tit for tat there. And has built up an okay army. I mean, defensively, definitely enough. Resident Glaives is now on the way for Hero. And it's going to make an interesting dynamic. Glaives versus the Zealots. Adepts once again from MaxPax trying to find just little bits of damage. This time, very ineffective. Just 2 probes killed. Does see more Adepts being warped in and a good number of Adepts on the front, too. Kind of combine those 2 together with the Twilight Council researching. Kind of put it together that it's going to be Adepts, not Charge. And it looks like Hero's finally going to go searching for that proxy gateway. Fair enough. MaxPax tries to take a 3rd base. I don't know. I don't know. Is that the right call? Is that a necessary call? Because again, they both are starting to mine out of their main. In a way, sometimes taking this, even in a very defensive state of mind. Like, if MaxPax knows that's Resident Glaives, you should figure an attack is on the way. But you can kind of maybe buy time with it. And then if it does end up dying, and maybe you cancel it, that'd be great. But if it doesn't end up dying, that's still bought time. You're still alive. It's still 2-base. It's I don't think he's doing this because he's ignorant. He's ignorant to the possible attack. The probe even goes out to scout. Nice timing right there. And he does immediately cancel. So that's a little bit more of an alert. If it had been built and a shield battery and a recharge is available, maybe he tries to hold it, but now it's all about the hold in the natural. Force field very good against this. I mean, the Adepts, they can shade on through, but, you know, the farther away they are, the more their shade won't actually hit the probes. But in this case, I just don't know about it in general. Like, it could have, maybe the last few Adepts could have gone into the main, but maybe not all the Adepts, because they would have been choked up in a line, very inefficiently firing. You know, there's force fields, keeping them as far away as possible, keeping the Immortals as far away as possible, all still very useful things. Hero is going to go for the attack, once again sending the Adepts in as a threat, loses the Warp Prism instantly. MaxPax's second Immortal pops out as well, really helping out against the Stalkers. The Adepts of Hero do not shade. They are providing that buffer, they are providing some damage, and MaxPax's supply has just disintegrated. All the Zealots disintegrate on the front lines, I guess. And the Immortals are now all gone. So many Adepts are left over, and Hero's supply tells the tale. 73-29. The Adepts, I don't know if they'd win a straight-up battle at this point, but they don't necessarily have to. This is going to be Hero with a 2-1 lead. And MaxPax probably thought that would look a little better. I certainly thought it was going to look a little better. I'm going to rewind and see that engagement over again. He's recalling some units, some probes from his... Wait, what? Actually, not sure what happened there, but that's Wait, why did he? Oh, they were over there. Okay, okay, all right. Of course, he was already dead. All right, so it's a 30 army supply difference to begin with. All right, that already set Max Pax in a bad state to defend against this. And then he blinked to the War Prism, which meant that his Stalkers actually got in range of every single unit of Hero. Because initially, the Adepts didn't look very efficient, but whether or not he blinked, I mean, obviously getting the War Prism is usually a great thing to do. GG's. The best of 5 continues. But now this man down 1 at his Max Pax. On the bottom right, we do have Hero. Just dealt too much economic damage too early on, even though there is a little more to that game. Certainly back and forth, what ifs all around. I think just the minutes that Hero had a substantially better economy really affected the end game engagement, so that there is a 30 army supply lead for Hero. But anyway, PvP continues. Fun game. Started off with the Max Pax, like a ideal situation, being the aggressor, went to that proxy gateway, was building it long before Blink was even done, getting ready for it, and then Hero was actually the one attacking first. And I didn't really get to go into why the attack from Hero was clever. Kind of forgot in the midst of everything. But yeah, Hero went Stargate, Robo. Then he just used a War Prism to ferry as many Stalkers as he could build onto the high ground. This must have been completely unexpected for Max Pax. I mean, it clearly was. He did not scout it. He had no idea it was on the way. He was not prepared for it. But I mean that even before the actual attack happened. You see a Stargate, you see a Robo. You're probably thinking, well, one, he's going to be done with the Stargate very soon. And if he's not, it's not really a fighting force anyway. If he's building Phoenix, maybe later, there'd be harassing. No one builds Void Rays at this level, unless, unless they're defending something. Oracles would have been a weird choice from Hero, but I guess could be possible. Point is, not attacking main army shit, right? Robo gets Immortals. That's pretty good. But Immortals, they take a long time. So, they build, they're expensive, take a long time to get across the map. You wouldn't have a lot of extra units with them necessarily. You don't have charge lots, you don't have Blink Stalkers. You're really going to be the one attacking me first? Probably not. Maybe you get a War Prism and do a little this or that with a couple of Adepts, because it's annoying as shit, but then my Blink finishes and now you're in a lot of trouble potentially. The fact that Hero went for Stargate Robo and then just for the War Prism basically, and then just built non-stop basic bitch Stalkers was not something that Max Pax was thinking of. And that's pretty neat. Probe finally falls. Max Pax is proxying a Robo right now. And because Max Pax is, for so long, for so much of his career, was a one-gate expander, it's just kind of... I wonder how good he is with the proxy Robo. I'm going to go ahead and assume that he still has practiced it. He's obviously practiced a lot against it, so he knows what is good and what's bad about it. But yeah, it's not like I'm watching, well, Hero, actually, and being like, oh, you got to be careful. This is going to be tough. I'm like, I don't know. Proxy Robo should be scary in anyone's hands. And I'm sure Max Pax will be quite good with it, but... Back to the usual discussion of whether or not the defender has figured this out. We do have Pylon Shield Battery on the way for Hero, as he sees a lacking Pylon in the main for a little bit. That was the third Pylon, this is the second. And knows that it could be Proxy Robo, but he doesn't actually see it. Hero gets his Warp Prism as he went for a non-proxy Robo, which, if you're theoretically would put you in a better position, but not exactly. Because at the end of the day, it just means that the proxy robo is going to be the one containing you. Kills the pylon, depowers the warp gates that were mid-transition. MaxPax saw the warp prism, knows about it, has some units to try and defend against it. Full wall off from MaxPax too, so the Adepts can't get in any other way. Two Adepts could still cause some chaos. And as I was saying, MaxPax, kind of the one containing his opponent. And then just because you have a defensive robot doesn't necessarily put you in the best position. But in this case, with the Adepts finding 6 probes worth of damage, Hero is finding a lead. He's now ahead by 4 probes. He has a similar army to his opponent, although getting down his own ramp is such a struggle. 6 probes go down. Warp Prism just went back home and needs to come back home to help out against this contain. And that's exactly what it does. Picks up some units, finds MaxPax is reinforcing Immortal. This could get very nasty, but then Hero's second Immortal went down the ramp, got force-footed off, needs to be picked up. Now we got a micro versus micro battle going on right now as Hero had dropped off also a couple of Stalkers that are now, I guess, forgotten about. I mean, where to focus right now. Focus Warp Prism, focus Immortal. Poor Stalkers, just find some other way to live. But at the end of the micro battle right there, Hero is able to actually leave his base, already giving him a little bit more flexibility than he had previously. He does have more injured Immortals, and now he has one less Immortal as well. MaxPax sees the opportunity. He's got Guardian Shield on his side too, and this just looks like a better fight for MaxPax. If the Immortals pop up for Hero too. These Immortals coming in just barely in time. Was I wrong? Wait, how long do you have a third Immortal there? Third Immortal came walking in towards the end of that fight. Okay, all right. I did think MaxPax had more firepower, but not quite enough. In fact, he did end up losing that battle. So as good as that looked, as much as we saw him, we saw the eagerness as he ran forward. They both are doing very similar things. Although losing the Warp Prism would obviously change just quite a bit. Hero taking a lot of damage on his Warp Prism could come into effect later on. The Stalker that had just ran away earlier on, ran all the way across the map, gets a little bit of a scout, gets a little bit of a distraction. I mean, now the Stalker Sentry isn't guarding against the Warp Prism, which is what it probably would be doing. The Stalker runs around the base and then gets out. What a Chad. Okay. Recall has to be done. And Hero will just skedaddle with the Immortals once he feels any amount of threat. Neither player going up that Twilight Council as of yet, so Blink is not a concern. Neither is a Stargate. Sometimes we do see a Stargate in the situation. Neither one affording it as of yet, as the Warp Prism of MaxPax also does some damage. Gets 4 probes. Now, they've both been tit for tat on the probe count. On the probe kills, Hero has a spike right here on the income. And now going back into MaxPax's favor. They both are on one base, right? So, I mean, they only need so many probes, but still want full saturation, which now Hero doesn't have and is replacing it. Hero does find the proxy robo, and that's the danger, of course, of proxying the robo. That it could be found and it could be killed much easier. Grabs a sentry before skedaddling too, but he grabbed the pylon, he grabbed the robo, grabs a sentry. Excellent find with Hero's Warp Prism, which should be able to get back to his home base. But Hero is once again locked into his home base, so... And we're going to have another contained scenario. The Adepts do change that dynamic, being able to just bypass the force field. It's only one part of it, though, right? Like, you don't... The Adepts alone can't fight this, so even if they can bypass the force field, Hero still has to micro his Immortals with the Warp Prism down, and that's still dangerous. And he actually did not just send that home, turned around, went for the offense. Once something being done, whenever it looks like he's being contained, once something else happening on the map, forcing MaxPax back in turn, actually uses the warp in to warp in a couple of units, and that is something that MaxPax is not equipped to handle as of yet. Goes to the pylon, depowers 2 out of 3 gateways. 5 probes also going down for MaxPax. More to come as he's forced to pull them into this battle. The Stargate was built for MaxPax, and that will be a tremendous help once the Phoenix is actually done. Hero, of course, sees that and knows that he is on borrowed time and will go ahead and leave. They killed 11 probes. MaxPax down to 14. Hero also obviously no longer contained, although still dealing with his own Warp Prism harassment, does decide to leave and go for the attack. He sees an opportunity. He wants to go and end this very chaotic one base versus one base game while losing most of his economy, not all of his economy, back at home. MaxPax, does he have a recall? He does have a recall. He has a Phoenix to help out as well. That's either going to lift an Immortal or harry the Warp Prism. I think lifting the Immortal probably going to be more realistic than actually killing the Warp Prism, but still, Shield Battery is coming on the way. Adepts are going to shade on through, threaten MaxPax's very limited economy. Both of them are in limited economy, but if they're attacking the probes, they're not helping in the engagement. Phoenix go for a couple of lifts, decide not to. It's a real testy game right now. Very micro-dependent. Hero just literally pulled the probes. Okay, the boys have been pulled. Force Field's still good against them as well, though, and the Force Field on the ramp currently saving MaxPax as he goes for the Warp Prism. He does lift a unit. The Immortal in the air, struggling, not impacting the battle. The Immortals of Hero, so many of them not even fighting. They're stuck on the ramp. Meanwhile, MaxPax had most of his engaging. MaxPax takes the army supply lead. He took out the Warp Prism, and MaxPax wins. There you go. That was one hell of a game. MaxPax holds on his ramp. Force fields are still pretty freaking good. And I do think the Stargate did help, although probably not the champion of that particular game. The Force field absolutely was. MaxPax ties up the series by the skin of his chinny chin chin. And we'll go into game 5. It's hair of his chin. Either way, it was very, very close. And the best of 5 is all tied up. In the top left of Incorporeal, it is MaxPax. Bottom right, Hero. What a game 4. If Force Fields didn't exist, well, it'd be a very different game entirely. StarCraft 2 would be. I feel like it would have been a better game, actually, in Wings of Liberty without Force Fields, but perhaps a worse game for the rest of the expansions. Force fields feel like we're such a controversial? Yeah, maybe that's the right word. And they were such a pain in the ass before Ravagers as well. But anyway, now they're fine and I actually like them. But if they didn't exist, that game, I don't know who it goes to because honestly, you know, Hero's force fields also were very important in that game, his own force fields. MaxPax's final force fields were the most important though. For sure. Barely getting it down. I wonder if Hero could have used his adepts to not go after the probes. It ended up being quite useless, really. I mean, they're like more than useless rather than, okay, maybe the probes weren't the target at that point, right? It was like one adept was firing on them and the rest were just chilling. So they were very not good. I mean, what if you used them on the army to kill the sentry? But then if the force field is still slapped down, the adepts die, the rest of the army might be able to go up, but is it still, you know, as good without all the adepts that just died? I mean, that's a big question, but anyway. Very fun. One base versus one base. It happens in PvP. It's not so easy. I mean, I feel like in other matchups, we talk a lot about if someone does the same thing as you, but they're defending and you're attacking, generally we go, okay, well, the defender has the advantage. Because defender's advantage. Yeah. Shocking, right? But it's just a little bit different when it comes to Protoss because of A, Warp Gate and Warp Prisms, negating the traversal aspect of defender's advantage. And then also Force Fields. Just, you know, being able to lock someone in or lock someone out with a very limited amount of firepower. It's a spellcaster. Which makes it very interesting. 2-gate versus 2-gate, though, in this game. No, 1-gate for MaxPax again, as he grabs a Stargate and a much faster Nexus. Much, much faster because Hero is, of course, 2-gate in a Robo at home. He did this in game number 3. Game number 4. He did this last game. And I think it could have worked out for him. You know, there's, like, again, it's just not so simple. If it's like a If like a Terran is 1-1-1 all-inning on one base, but the defensive Terran is 1-1-1ing, it's just like, okay, well, the defensive Terran wins this one, and it's very difficult. Not impossible to make a macro game out of it, but PvP is just so much different. But the chances of that happening again, especially as Hero, well, eventually will scout that it's a 1-gate, is very, very low. The whole Robo versus Robo scenario, it's very low. Hero should be the aggressor. He figures that he will eventually scout that. I mean, he sees 1 Adept. That doesn't necessarily tell him that it was only 1 gateway. Because Max Pax has gone 1 Adept, 1 Stalker before. Sees the Oracle. Ooh, the Oracle. Whew. Already taking some hull damage is less than ideal. Gets a Revelation off, but that's the Stalker's not going to reveal anything. As much as Hero doesn't know what his opponent is doing, except the Stargate, Max Pax also doesn't quite know what his opponent is doing. 2 Stalkers offensively doesn't mean too much. Even 4 Stalkers offensively doesn't mean that they're all-inning or really dedicating, but could be something on one base, and hey, look at that. Max Pax sees that lacking natural. He had already begun a Void Ray, I want to say. He had already begun a shield battery, that is for sure. In fact, 2 shield batteries were already completed. A 3rd shield battery is on the way. Kind of feels like he did actually know this was happening. Did he? Was that Oracle the first scout? Power of replays, guys. No, it wasn't. Okay. Well, the Probe Scout, right. So the Probe Scout, it does look like just with the aggressive maneuvering of the Stalkers, Max Pax is betting on Hero being aggressive, and he just would confirm it with the Oracle. It's a good bet. 3 shield batteries and a Void Ray. Feel like this is not going to work for Hero. It's a little more and han when a Protoss is desperately trying to get their first shield battery up, or maybe even their second. And then you're like, oh, only 1 shield battery while the attack's incoming? I don't know. 3 shield batteries, a Void Ray. Main base is still potentially a problem. That shield battery isn't quite done. Probes will have to be pulled to help out, and this is the only play here for Hero. It is a damn good play. Probes have been pulled. Shield battery, though, is done. Second Void Ray is out. First Void Ray still healthy. Overcharge as well. The first Void Ray does fall, but a lot of damage was done. Prismatic alignment, excuse me. Overcharge doesn't exist anymore. And the second Void Ray, with the help of a Probe Surround, is going to help clear that out. Hero forced to recall his army back home. He does still hold on to an army lead. He will probably try and go for a second attack. As, macroing from this point, it's not going to happen. But can it actually work? Still a chance. There's one more chance. Max Pax rebuilding probes can be used in the fight. And they're pretty decent, honestly. Obviously, rebuilding his Void Rays. Shield battery's done from the get-go this time. Probe once again on patrol, scouting for this maneuver. Really the only maneuver that would have any chance of working. War Prism was in a little danger. Max Pax maybe thought about going after it, but there's already too many Stalkers warped in. But now 2 Void Rays, a shield battery, a probe pull to help out, and not all of the Stalkers of Hero made it up to that main base. And this does indeed look hopeless for the Red Protoss, even though the supplies are actually in favor of Hero. Manages to keep on to a almost 10 army supply lead. Again, shield batteries, stasis trap. Oh my god. That is such a good stasis trap. That is the best stasis trap I've seen in months. That caught literally the entire army. Literally. That's crazy. Even without the stasis trap, it would have been very difficult for non-blink stalkers to pierce through this. But now we get an extra warp in. Now we're closer to a 3rd Void Ray. Now a couple of force fields help too. Damn. What a stasis trap. Still don't really want to be the one walking away from your shield batteries. There's just simply no need for it. Max Pax is going to win this macro game. No problem. Hero has to try once again to all in. All in, all in, all in again. But he's not going to win. He's going to lose his best of 3, or best of 5, and be forced into a best of 3, of which he could still win, and then ultimately win the Open Cup. But this is Jover. This is very, very over. This is little fantasy GG timing. As I was saying, usually You don't want to be moving away from your shield batteries, but this is so obviously over that Max Pax is chasing them down. Warp Prism is going to die. And that is the tap out point. GG's. Max Pax. He takes a best of 5, but there's still one more best of 3 to go. Star Pants. Thank you for the 4 months while that was going on. And now the final best of. The final one. In the top left, it is Hero. In the bottom right, it is Max Pax. Hero was afforded a second chance because he didn't lose a life, if you will, going down to the lower bracket. He killed Max Pax earlier. Gets a best of 5 in his pocket. He loses the best of 5. Very close games, though, overall. And now he has a best of 3 to shake it all off and still end up winning the Open Cup. Got it in good. I was gonna go with that initially, and then I was like, is it Go Titan good? Probably not, though. Anyways, thank you for the Prime sub. Hero's 1 get expands, by the way, looking okay. Will he do it again? This is Hero. Yeah, here we go. They have swapped colors on me. It's not my fault. Two gateway for Hero. And Max Pax, not so much. He's chronoed his probes. Needs the pylon for the supply. Can't afford the second gateway when you do all that. Hero's going to scout this. What is his reaction going to be? Aggressive again? In the last game, it was not without hope until the final few minutes. But, the high ground attack looked good. Even the attack with the stasis trap without the stasis trap might have had something. I still would fully believe in Max Pax's ability to defend at that point, but the stasis trap just made it, no issue whatsoever. Very rarely do you see a stasis trap get every single army unit. If you don't count the Warp Prism. If everyone wants to be technical, I guess. Someone in the YouTube chat's going to do that. Stargate versus Stargate. Oh, god damn it. So we had a Stargate for Stargate earlier on, but that was really more complex than just both of them deciding to go Stargate, right? That was seemingly a reaction, actually, from Hero. Yeah, that's the game that it was. Yeah, a reaction. Then he went to that Robo, and then the Stalker warping on the main. This is Stargate from Max Pax almost 100% of the time anyway when he does go for a gateway expand, something that Hero could have read into without actually scouting the Stargate. And then Hero decides to go for his own Stargate, which is a play. Both of them are blocking each other's Nexus. Max Pax blocking... Okay, blocking Heroes would be Nexus a little more, though. Hero grabbed 2 extra Adepts and an Oracle. So the Nexus comes down after all of that. Could have grabbed it earlier, I suppose, but I don't know what exact order I want it to be. But 4 Adepts will chase down Max Pax's little meager army right here. I mean, literally, it'll chase it down. It will warp shade forward and then body block and get the kill. And all Max Pax can do is try and keep the Zealot alive. Phoenix are already available for Max Pax. Hero decides to go for the gamble. He goes into Oracle despite knowing the very real possibility of there being Phoenix. Again, just it's what you do when you 1-get expand. And I think he did see them at this point. But if they're too far away, then you could still make it work. But he does need 2 Oracles at this point. Max Pax built a shield battery. Having seen the Stargate? Yeah. Oracle is going to chill in the corner. Managed to get close to Max Pax's base, but was not scouted. Very important thing there. Second Oracle, what's it going to do? So far, staying at home. I don't know what the play is at this point for it, but now it's MaxPax is grabbing an Oracle. Not that I think he's going to be so super aggressive with it, but he could. I mean, there's the Blink is not going to be done. He knows that it was a Stargate. So if he didn't know for a fact it was a Stargate and yet no Stargate units had appeared, I mean, this would have been really confusing for him. But he knew it was a Stargate. So, you know, one, he's hiding Oracle somewhere, or two, there's a Phoenix, but then maybe this Oracle can avoid the Phoenix, just like what Hero is planning to do to MaxPax. All right, MaxPax now seeing the Oracles. Stasis Trap ineffective. Some probes of Heroes actually did go down. Now Hero going to lose his Oracle. Second Stasis Trap has to be popped, and it is. Oracle in the main. Stasis Trap. That's a good one. There it is. Third time's the charm. Fourth one going down just for the remnants, I suppose. Gets just one more probe. This is a lot of units lost for Hero, however, as the Adepts also went to the main base, were picked up and killed. And this Oracle is bound to die. More Adepts on the front also going to be picked up. So there is that. MaxPax didn't have a lot of army to begin with, though. So even though we're seeing a lot of lost units, it's not giving us a huge difference. And certainly MaxPax isn't really set up to be an aggressor with his style of play, with his opener. So it's not like you go, aha, you wasted too many Adepts and now I counterattack. His Oracle took a little bit of a nap right there. Decided to go for a Stasis Trap, and then I believe he canceled it? Or was it just killed? Oh, did he do the mining trick and it was just so fast that I didn't even catch it? Either way, that Stasis Trap was a complete failure. And where are we now? Where the hell are we now? Hero, you know, he went for the Stargate gamble. Did it work? I would say no. One good Stasis Trap is not what I would consider as a good Stargate opener. He did get his own Nexus up. He's only down by 5 probes. Not terrible. His third Nexus comes down faster, which should be the case. MaxPax, I guess, could have also got a third Nexus, but it's less about how much money he could have had and more about how much protection he thinks he could have had around his third with the other player, presumably going into that Twilight Council, because he did see he did see it, and going into that Blink. Anyway, I assume MaxPax will get a third, but we do have a lot of gateways. Well, 1 + 5 is 6. Still, again, no Stasis Trap really working. I'm going to actually double check this. Is he canceling it on accident? Okay, well, that was clearly not an accident. He tried to save it, but I just mean before. All right, never mind. Tried to save the Oracle. That didn't work. Say, Livy. Thank you, Dev Watcher, for the 5 gifted subs, by the way. Hey, Blink is done for Hero. He gets a faster third. This is something that MaxPax is going to see. MaxPax does have a Forge on the way. So, I mean, that tells me that he's going to actually get this third Nexus. Templar Archives prioritized. He might get a third, sure. But at this point, I feel like he's planning more so on the attack. Yeah, there is the third. My question is where, you know, the chrono is going to go down and where, you know, if he actually is going to produce all the probes that you would need to saturate a third. +1 attack does start up, so this does point to the future. This means that Hero will have a substantially faster Nexus with more probes, so he actually is just mining more. But MaxPax prioritizing some useful army units. Archons will be available shortly. Loses a Sentry. Hallucinates an Immortal. Do like that. No Archons coming in as of yet. Phoenix go for a little bit of harassment. Why not? Okay, Shield Battery. Calm down. Zealots do come forward. Chip away at Hero Stalkers. We still have 3 Immortals, what looks to be 4 for Hero. Don't think MaxPax is going to lose this base. It is still so much later. Hero loses 3 probes, still ahead by 3. Still mining consistently more. Upgrade's going to be favorable to Hero as well. MaxPax, yeah, he's got enough to defend, that's for sure. But he was just so much later to the economy. It's not like it's devastating. It's just a little concerning. 4 Immortals also should be considered. Certainly the Stalkers don't want to engage on 4 Immortals. But and make that 5. 5th Immortal's on the way. Hero is going to have the ability to add in those charge lots as well. Instantly into the +2. It seems like no one decided to go for a big ol' attack. Fair is fair, although Hero did pressure, did poke. There wasn't a huge committal, like no upgrades, no robo. And it looks like it is Hero now a little concerned about a potential attack with the Immortal count plus Archons. So he is grabbing a couple of static defense structures, also grabbing a Dark Shrine. So that was, you know, the last macro game we saw between the two. MaxPax was the one that grabbed that kind of 3 to 4 base Dark Shrine. Could also be used for Archons. They're cheaper on the gas. Hero poking in left and right, trying to abuse the mobility that his Blink Stalkers have over MaxPax, who does not yet have it. Grabbing his own Immortals, too. And things are looking very even. Hero's managed to keep the 3 probe count lead, but still say it's very even looking. Army supplies in favor of Hero, though, as we speak, and MaxPax is actually the one moving out. He's also a bit behind in the +2, so if you're thinking this is going to be a timing, it's not really going to be one that works. Yeah. He pushes out, pulls back. I mean, we still don't see a 4th base from any side. Only just now is Hero grabbing his 4th. I think that may make you a little hesitant to really commit to an attack. Blink is now done for MaxPax, but I'm looking at that +2. I'm looking at Hero's positioning. He's moving out while taking the 4th, taking control of the map. Still has the Dark Shrine, who does go immediately into DT Blink, so he's going to have that option for a run-by if the main attack doesn't quite work. And he has split up his army a bit in half, maybe 60-40. He's going to catch the Observer of his opponent. It's actually nice, because MaxPax is quite blind without it. He doesn't know what's coming in which direction. Sees an army on the right side, knows there's something on the left. How big exactly it is, he's not quite sure. MaxPax's War Prism now is going to head over, and it's going to see that there is a 4th, and he saw the intention of it anyway. At this point, Hero seems content on delaying, straight up denying MaxPax's 4th base, and MaxPax is falling now pretty far behind in the army supply. Check out the income graph. It has been Hero-sided for a while, the past couple of minutes. Not as much as I thought, but it's going to get worse and worse. As the 4th base, as they both mine out the main, and the 4th base is available to Hero, but not MaxPax. MaxPax got to make some moves, has to do his own attack, maybe expand behind it, and there you have it. Cues that up. MaxPax doesn't have much defense against DTs, though. I don't think he knows about it. They haven't been used as of yet. That could be big. There are no cannons. Okay, there's 1 cannon, but we have DT Blink, and so that's not enough anyway. The army moves out. The DTs move in. That's a lot of DTs as well. 9 DTs? Jesus. That will definitely kill a cannon. Or 2 or 3. Decides to even blink into the natural. Immediately kills 11 probes. Should probably split them up, though, at this point. Everybody loses 9 DTs just for 13 probes. Okay, he does split them up, and now that's exactly what Hero wants. Hero also with an almost 30 armor supply lead. Barrel's 4th, 2-1 upgrade lead, and MaxPax has to defend every single base. He has to defend his 3rd, his main, his 4th. Everything is under fire. Everything is blinking. He does have a very strong army of Immortal Archon maturity, but it is not an ideal situation. The concave was not there. He doesn't have an Observer on the front lines. This DT has just been cutting so many units, and more DTs are on the way, and that is going to be it by the looks of it. Observers finally do come on the front line. Hero is only down to a 20 armor supply lead, to be fair, so MaxPax's army was still pretty freaking impressive, but it's still not going to be enough as he is forced to tap out. Hero takes game 1 of this best of 3. This could be the final game of the series. In the bottom left, down a game, he is MaxPax. The top right of Ultra Love, it is Hero. All Hero has to do is win this next game, and he has won the Open Cup despite losing a best of 5 earlier. That's the double elimination format that they have chosen for this Open Cup. This is a Monday Night Weekly, by the way, which I believe there is a crowdfunding aspect to this. To be honest, I find it difficult to find where you're supposed to donate for the crowdfunding, but I think if you check out maybe TKL stream, maybe the Team Liquid thread, might be somewhere in there. I wish it gave something more concrete, but I myself actually struggle to find it. Anyway, that's why sometimes it happens every other week. Sometimes there's, a 2-week gap, and sometimes it's every week, I guess. But it's been especially nice since we've had the patch. We've all wanted to see what patch gives us. It doesn't give us a whole lot in PvP. But, there's still some things, I suppose. Well, thank you. It's at Ko-Fi, so ko-fi.com/Monday Night Weekly. There we go. Hero is going to go for his own unorthodox opener, so he is going 1 gateway thus far, but, more importantly, it's not on the front, not walling off. Don't really need to, but it's usually what happened. And he's actually going 1 gateway as well. So 1 gateway versus Hero, MaxPax's 1 gateway. This is a map that has a natural ramp, so if there was going to be a map that you would assume MaxPax would go for the 1 gate, this would be it. Even though he has done it on other maps without a ramp in the natural, this would be the most encouraging. Ditto on your side, too. I mean, if you were going to choose a game to also 1 gate, it would be this one. But Hero did not take advantage of the high ground, obviously, so it's like, okay. Still going to 1 gate, though. He's 1 gating while blocking a little bit of the wall of his opponent. It's not really scary when you're sending 1 unit at a time to each other. A little slap fight. The Nexus is still so much faster for MaxPax, who grabbed it before Cybernex score. So, feel like this didn't really work out for Hero. I'm not sure what he was planning. I don't know. Hero does have a slight probe lead. He's able to put a chrono into probes with the opener. I suppose with that, the Nexus is still only half as fast. Well, we'll see how it settles in about a minute. Both of them going to Stargate, and once again, I'm going to tense a little bit, and really, is it going to be Phoenix or Phoenix? We've avoided it thus far. Even when both players have gotten a Stargate, even when they both got at the same time, Hero did me a solid and went Oracle's not Phoenix. Will he do it again? Or will he go Phoenix? Both players should be wary of each other's Stargate potential. MaxPax wants the Sentry. He probably will find the Sentry. Run, little buddy! Run! Didn't the Sentry get a speed boost some patch ago? Not this patch. Last patch? Patch before that? Anyway, didn't save it. You can eventually shade him, after all. But the Adept might die too. We were talking about little tiny things here. Still the loss of a Sentry. Overall, greater. And the Adept shaded back to look for maybe even a couple of probes. Nicely done. MaxPax grabbed 1 Oracle, now goes into Twilight Council. Great. Not going to be Phoenix versus Phoenix. Hero grabs 1 Oracle and goes into Phoenix. This could have been Phoenix versus Phoenix, but MaxPax is the one being kind to the StarCraft 2 enjoyers out there. It's actually kind of surprising, though. As much as I'm making jokes about no one liking Phoenix versus Phoenix, MaxPax is pretty good at it. He's not invulnerable. I feel like he used to be. Like, he would always win Phoenix versus Phoenix. And still, he's very good at it, as they both deal almost the same amount of probe damage. Hero's Oracle finding 3 more, though. Still MaxPax 1 probe ahead. And MaxPax's Oracle does get recalled in time. But since he's pretty good at Phoenix versus Phoenix, sometimes it even feels like he's eagerly challenging his opponent to do the same thing. Not so this time around. Hero's Oracle actually swoops back in, finds a couple of extra probes, now gives Hero the 2 probe lead. 2 Oracles from Hero still alive. Oh, nope. Scratch that. 1 Oracle, Hero still alive. MaxPax's Phoenix catches the Oracle, gets away before the rest of Hero's army can come and protect it. Both of them could still kill a couple extra probes, but at this point, Hero has a slight probe lead. A very, very, very slight one. A couple more stalkers for Hero, but MaxPack's way ahead on that blink timing. His Oracle is dead anyway, so might as well try and grab the probes. Exactly what happens there. 2 shield batteries being planted down from MaxPack because he knows there's a Oracle out, and 1 Phoenix can't protect both bases. And we are going to see a third, maybe intense from someone. This probe is actually heading in a direction that says proxy. Okay. Oh, and a gateway's on the way, so proxy gateway it is. Blink is much faster from MaxPax, and Hero is the one going for a third. This could be a very good call from MaxPax to go aggressive. Did Hero barely see that probe? It feels like he saw that probe. It feels like he saw that probe. Oh, no. The jig is up. Maybe that doesn't seem like too big of a deal. Timing-wise, send another probe. Build another gateway. Still worth it. Well, now they also know your intentions. This is not going to be a surprise. They're not going to be chronoing probes because they're like, oh, I need to catch up on the economy or keep even on the economy with my opponent. Now they're thinking, oh, shit, well, I have to defend. Which means that MaxPax might have a moment where he can chrono probes over his opponent, for instance. Like, you're now defensive, but Hero isn't over-defending. He's not panicking. He obviously did stop that one pylon, and if there was a rededication to the attack, it still is a little bit less impactful now. And things are still running pretty smoothly in Hero's favor. MaxPax does scout the stasis traps, plural. He's going to take this fight. I don't think he actually wants to take the fight, though. Guardian Shield, very effective here. Did he kill his own Stalker? That's kind of what it looked like. Was that Hero Stalker? I guess it was. Regardless, as I said, MaxPax doesn't really want to take that fight. There's a lot there for Hero. That one was definitely a stasis trap of MaxPax. I'm tracking colors. I swear. Aggressive blink from Hero on the bridge. Always a little dangerous if you don't know what's coming up behind it. MaxPax is just actually trying to buy time. Hero, he has 5 gateways, so MaxPax is 4. While MaxPax might have had an opportunity with that proxy gateway a minute ago, it is now Hero's advantage. He's ahead in army, he's ahead in probes, he's ahead in upgrades, he's ahead in literally everything. MaxPax woefully behind, unable to defend his third base. Does look to be losing this best of 3 after such a close best of 5. This is more reminiscent of their first best of 3 of this Open Cup. Hero just looks very, very good against MaxPax. Very confident as well. And is tying this up with a nice little bow. And despite MaxPax's Oracle trying its best here. A little awkward of a fight. Hero is being completely surrounded. MaxPax looking to use this opportunity, but might still just be a little low on Stalkers. Shield battery also out of energy. Does blink aggressively forward, trying to capture the last of Hero's weakened Stalkers, but he just doesn't have as many. And Hero has now dealt with the Oracle at home, so he is sending literally everything across the map. 12 Stalkers to 6. MaxPax's Oracle, funnily enough, still alive. You have to kill so many probes now, though. I mean, you're so far behind. This is a much later pace in the stage of the game, so you have more probes to kill to really be super impactful. They have almost 4 Nexus eventually to replace those probes. I want to believe in the little Oracle. But at this point, even if I killed 20 probes, which would give MaxPax a good lead, still don't think that would be enough. As we also consider the 4th Nexus, already on the way for Hero. The +2, already on the way for Hero. Charge, already on the way for Hero. The army supply lead for Hero. Little Oracle that could. MaxPax knows he's in a lot of trouble, but, I mean, what decisions can he really make to get him out of it? It might be when behind Dark Shrine comes to mind. But I think that's also something that Hero would be like, you know what? One thing I don't want to die to is stupid DTs. So he's built cannons, shield batteries, Robo, Observer. So that would be just a little too obvious. Staying the path, staying the course, just trying to go toe-to-toe with Hero and eventually come out max supply versus max supply. Or hope that Hero makes a mistake. You know, that also makes sense. Hero does blink aggressively into a stasis trap. Only loses 3 Stalkers into it, but still doesn't want to take the fight. Max Pax, I think, was more puffing up his chest than actually looking for an engagement. He just wants to keep tabs on his opponent and kind of not scared. I don't think a hero would ever be scared, but yeah, keep tabs on him. Know where the army's coming in. Hero has a 4th ready, mining. Now moving on to a 5th. He has charge. Is he getting a warp prism? He has a warp prism. Now the time to attack and actually end this game. The 30 armor supply lead right now, probably going to get worse. That +2 timing, going to be perfect. Max Pax know that this day would come. There's not much he could do about it. And unfortunately, he won't even be properly set up to defend. Oracle stasis traps have been pretty good versus Hero, gotta say. But 5 Stalkers, again, not enough to really change the game. As it looks like Hero stasis trap did somewhat affect it, but it's all about the numbers. It's all about the army numbers. 88 armor supply to 58, +2 to a +1. Hero sees the overwhelming advantage and goes in with a concave forced, with him blinking forward aggressively. Once again, blinking forward aggressively, warping in extra zealots, and Max Pax just cannot stand up to this. It lost out too much earlier on, and will be falling in this best of 3. Ultimately, Hero is going to take the Monday Night Weekly at a good old, 6 in the morning Korea time, wherever the hell it is. I will say, this was not quite a defense that made you second guess if you would win, but it was still like a defense you got to give credit to the defender for. It's like, maybe, well, I don't really know if there's an if in here, but this was still as good as you could have done. Max Pax just not want to give up, but he knows that it is game over. Series over, tournament over. Hero wins the Monday Night Weekly. GG's. GG's. GG's to y'all. Coming in at a later timing. Glad to see there's people who are still interested in watching it. People might have been at work or didn't realize it was on. Whatever it is. Thanks for stopping by to watch. Guide the raid. I will do that. Who are we raiding? A-dash. Okay. Hopefully they're cool. If they're not, chat, let me know, but we're gonna assume they are. So thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow for Final Fantasy Tactics. The tactics, they need to continue. It's been a very good game. If anyone's interested in looking at it, it's been very good. But yeah. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.